Isn't this a sports show?
I'm trying to take risks and take chances, get messy, like Miss Frizzle told me to do. Magic School Bus reference for 7 people. Okay, good.
I got it. Don't worry.
Take chances, make mistakes, get messy. That's what it was. Shout out to Miss Frizzle.
Almost entirely.
I was homeschooled, so she was like my,
She was your science teacher.
She was my science teacher. Yeah, that's exactly right.
That was Bill Nye. How dare you?
Hey, Beards, you honestly think Josh's mom would let him watch Bill Nye? No way.
This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
You think I was reading Harry Potter for fun, Beards? Are you kidding me?
So Wishbone was your English class.
You're damn right.
Yeah!
You're damn right. Wishbone was my English class. Absolutely.
Take the show with you by listening on the Sports Radio 810 mobile app at 810WHB.com or by searching for Almost Entirely Sports wherever you get your podcasts.
I was basically educated on PBS.
Nothing wrong with that.
No, I'm not complaining. Great.
Look at us now.
Yeah, look at us.
This is Almost Entirely Sports on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
We're back. My goodness, do we have plenty of things to talk about? Welcome in to tonight's Almost Entirely Sports here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. I know it's going to be a good night because the show had just gotten started and I saw that Rudy was getting a phone call on the secret backdoor line and I was trying to suppress some hiccups, which is maybe the most single cursed thing that can happen at the beginning of a radio show is the intro music plays and you get that opening feeling in your chest of, is this going to be the beginning of a hiccup fit? Or if I just keep chewing my gum and maybe have a swig of water, maybe this won't get anywhere. So far, so good, though. And a lot to talk about, not just tonight and not just tomorrow night, but also on Friday. We got 3 AESs in a row as the NFL season has gotten rid of the remaining Thursday and Monday night games, even though obviously there's a lot of football left to be played. It'll be back on the weekends where football began. And we're going to get back to having a pretty regular schedule here on AES. So I'm Joshua Brisco. You probably know that if you're listening to this show. Maybe you're just driving by thinking, who is this lovely fellow with the hiccup problem? I'm Joshua Brisco. Rudy Salazar is on the other side of the glass producing the show and probably 15 or 16 other things if we're being honest. Just keeping plates spinning and things moving and fires put out. Rudy can do it all. But there's a lot of stuff that we'll cover, and we'll do it with a couple of our favorite guests around these parts. Our dear friend Kent Swanson of KC Sports Network will join us here in about 25 minutes to talk about everything that we saw from Chiefs Bengals, and then what direction that sends the Chiefs in from here. Plus, Robert Rimpson of Fox 4 will join us at 8. I just like talking to Robert, mostly about Chiefs stuff. I'm sure some other things will seep in as well. Plus, we have another edition of Sad Fans on Reddit. And usually that is a monumentous occasion. Usually Sad Fans on Reddit is a joy that we bring to the world. The spectral remains of Beards McFly will dig through the losing subreddit of whichever team is playing the Chiefs and bring you some of their best or their worst. And tonight that will likely not be such a joyous experience because it will, of course, be sad Chiefs fans on Reddit. And even whenever it's sad Chiefs fans, I do think that there's something, something cathartic. Misery loves company and all of that. So I do think there will be something for you in tonight's Sad Fans on Reddit, even if it's not as much fun as it would have been if it would have been after a Chiefs victory. Plus, shot clock reviews for the first time in so long that I was going through my list and I had to make 3 separate distinct sections of shot clock reviews, which was the diabetes section, the video game section, and the everything else section. We haven't done a shot clock review since I found out that I now have diabetes, which simply means an enormously large part of my shot clock review section is about either directly diabetic or tangentially diabetic things. Plus, of course, video games and other things. So we'll do the shot clock reviews at 9 tonight. Also, I think it'll be our first time in at least in a while with just two of us doing it. So Rudy and I are just going to play just shot clock review ping pong. Maybe I'll take doubles a couple of times. I don't know. We'll figure that out. But Kent in about 20 minutes. Robert Rimpson at 8 tonight. Shot clock reviews at 9. And somewhere over the show I'll talk about getting engaged, I guess. I did that. Shortly after New Year's Eve. Yeah, I know. I'm not going to talk about it too much. I got my self-involved chatter out of the way when I almost died.
Feels like a shot clock review.
Yeah, I think I should be able to get it in 24 seconds, right? But thank you to everyone who had very nice things to say following all of that. And I'll talk about it at some point tonight a little bit. Maybe give you a little bit of the juicy details, maybe a little bit of the story. And you know what? Maybe 24 seconds will be enough. Who's to say? But I got a text right after that from our dear friend David Lesky. And he said something about like, hey man, I'm sure your phone's blowing up right now, but I still wanted to, text you and say congratulations and everything. And I said, look, Lesky, I mean, here's where I'm at mentally right now. The last time my phone was blowing up like this, I was reading them from a hospital bed. So this is better, You could be a cynic about relationships and engagement and marriage, You can have all of your second guesses you may want to offer there. But I'm not in the hospital. And so at the very least, we can all agree this is better than that. Lesky then pointed out that it would have been closer, at least, if Renee would have said no. But spoiler alert.
She said maybe.
She said, ask me again in 6 months. Yeah, I said that I got engaged. That's not actually. I proposed. Wasn't rejected. I'm getting the franchise tag. She gets me one more season, but then we really got to have those contract negotiations. No, so what
you're kind of so here's the thing. I had an analogy, but now it's not as good because I realized the one little flaw in it. Like
no flaws.
Like you are. I was going to essentially compare you to Baker Mayfield, but you would have needed to have proposed before the diabetes, just like the Browns gave
Right.
Baker the 5th-year option,
right,
before his whole body fell apart. And now they're like, you know what? We don't know.
What I do know is that now Renee has 33% as many rings as Troy Aikman does, and that's what matters. Stole that from Twitter. I think from a couple people on Twitter. Good waiting out, Twitter. You guys are ready for that. I appreciate it. The other thing that a couple people mentioned that I did think of in advance, so I'm stealing it, but also would have had this one without Twitter bringing it up. But I was very pleased to see Twitter jump on this as well. Officially, from this point forward on the show, there is no girlfriend Renee. Girlfriend Renee is gone. And fiance Renee sounds a lot more French anyway. And so I feel like that's kind of win-win, but I'm going to have to put $1 in a jar or whatever every time I get that one wrong from here on out, because it will happen many times. Had somebody even ask, well, what happens after you guys get married? We're never getting married. Are you kidding me? You see how long I milked the dating stage? This is going to be like a 4-year-long engagement. Unless Renee or her family is listening, in which case that was all a joke. Or was it? Or was this a joke? Who's to say? Speaking of big letdowns for half of the people involved, I felt like Jamar Chase throughout that experience. But I think it's because Renee's defensive coordinator let her down.
Or you, Joe Burrow, really not doing that much, but just reaping all the rewards.
Just putting it up to Jamar Chase. And now that's a good question. I like that. I like that, but I also do like the idea that that nobody ever should have let Renee get into a one-on-one matchup with me.
That's also true.
Because all of a sudden,
definitely should have been a little bit of help over the top.
She needed some help over the top. That's right.
In the beginning, it's understandable, right?
Yeah.
Like, there was no shame leaving Jamar Chase one-on-one early. It's what you do. And,
right.
And honestly, second and third quarter, it's fine. But at some point, you have to realize the problem at hand.
Yeah.
And adjust.
Somewhere,
just at some point in the last, let's say since the pandemic started.
Definitely.
There should have been help over the top.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Yep. That's exactly right. In fact, Randy Gisarelli tweeted something along the lines at the time of, I'm not sure I understand this. She saved your life and now has to spend the rest of it with you. Like, that doesn't seem fair.
It's her fault.
Yeah,
she could have prevented all this.
That's
just leaving you in a bathroom.
This is how I knew that at this point, like, there was no more long con here. Because if Renee wanted out, all she needed to do was knock on a locked bathroom door and go, "Hey, you in there? I don't hear anything. I'm going to go back to bed." Because that right there might have solved it. That could have... Cleaning of the hands. She could have taken most of my stuff anyway at that point. No one would have ever known. She had a get out of relationship free card. She didn't take it.
She didn't?
Needs to start getting better advice.
Just needs a little bit of help over the top.
She just needs some help over the top, man.
Congratulations again, by the way, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I will stop just short of comparing any of her friends to Daniel Sorensen. Because weirdly, that is the bridge too far for the bit. At that point, I'm never winning them back. Oh, my goodness. So, yeah, that was my first 5 minutes of 2022. Again, because we haven't had that many shows. Like, Rudy, I was going to ask you, like, so would you have a nice Christmas? Are we going to get some Christmas gifts on the Shot Clock reviews? I don't really know. We've been busy, and we'll talk about Chiefs Bengals like so much tonight. Just give us time.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good, solid holiday, I would say. Nothing super crazy. I mostly get cash.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, so I think I believe I only received one actual physical present.
Is this the one that you're wearing currently? This will be a Shot Clock review. Very good.
What I'm wearing.
Very good.
I'm pretty sure. Oh,
it's a.
I don't think I'm pretty sure I haven't even told you this, but I find it funny.
By the way, really quick, just for clarification, the Christmas gift that Rudy got that he is wearing right now is just a lacy pair of underwear.
Very comfortable.
Yeah.
I'm big in the silk.
Yeah, big silk guy.
Big silk guy. So I went over to my mom's house on the Sunday before the Chiefs played the Steelers. We did Christmas with my mom that morning. And my mom's very big on always had the stocking, right?
Sure.
And stocking for 99% of my life has been filled with the same things. Beef jerky, scratch tickets, a DVD, a CD, and I think that's generally the four big ones.
Those are the staples. I love that.
The DVD, obviously, and CD have not been a thing. At some point, DVD transitioned into Blu-ray.
Right.
And CD died a while back.
Was that an iTunes gift card at some point or something, or did it
probably, yeah. It's just CD at some point just eventually died.
Yeah, because there's not.
And even Blu-ray eventually also kind of died.
Yeah.
But Mom, again, and then, a variety of candies, right? Little Snickers, whatever.
Yeah. What's your favorite, real quick, what's your favorite Christmas time candy? Not the same thing as your favorite candy. At least for me, it's not.
I mean, it's probably I know I'm going to get, like, mini Snickers, I guess. And it's just, I'm like, mini Snickers is not my, Snickers is not my favorite candy. But I know I'm always going to have, like, mini Snickers around, and I would say that's probably the go-to of whatever is around.
I love...
like a mini Snicker.
I love a York patty, a peppermint patty.
I've not had a lot of those in my life. I've had them, but not a lot of them.
I've got some that Renee's mom got me in my little lunch bag over here right now, so you just let me know.
I don't know if my family in general is a huge mint family, like mint chocolate family.
Love mint chocolate. Okay, sorry, I just was curious. But mini Snickers is the go-to Christmas Day sort of candy.
So this year, though, I at first I thought my mom forgot about me because I was like, everybody's got a stocking, but like, where's mine?
Oh man!
It was literally just like on the side. It was like on the ground, leaned up against the chair I was sitting in. I just couldn't see it from my angle.
That
so, it was there the whole time.
Caused some
I wasn't going to say anything,
though, right?
But I was like, man, it's like, I guess, does this mean I'm old now? Is this the official
old or out of the family?
I'm dying?
Yeah, either way, bad.
Well, this year the stocking.
Oh no.
did not have the staples that it normally has. I think it did. It did actually have one little small bag of beef jerky, but not like a big bag of beef jerky like it usually did.
Oh man!
And instead, there were a lot of pills, medicine, a lot of anti-anxiety medicine. I was like, Mom, do you know something about me that I don't know? And then also B12 or. I think it was B12, or is it D12?
B12 is a
Probably
thing.
B12.
I don't think that there's a D number.
I
I think
think-
it's just vitamin D. I think. I don't know.
Who knows? Point being, a vitamin. Then also
I think
like
B12 was what Roger Clemens said he was taking.
Probably, and then also a thing of vitamins. Make sure I'm getting my whatever it is that I've already forgotten about.
Here's a headline from January 3rd, 2008. Roger Clemens tells 60 Minutes he received lidocaine, B12.
I got lidocaine too. Few HGH pills in there.
So
But these were big. There's each of these bottles have like 500 pills in them, and there's like 1,000 of them total.
So
I just looked at her like, Mom. And to be fair, everybody got their own little medical concoction.
okay,
this
so
year.
it wasn't like
It
here's
wasn't
candy
just
for
me.
everybody and pills for Rudy.
Not just me, but I think then also patches. They're not, but here's the
Nicotine
thing.
patches.
Not nicotine patches.
Okay.
Apparently, we've talked about this, like a company like Blueland or whatever. They're the I think they've advertised on the Besties, but they're the cleaning supplies. If you look at it, basically, we've talked about big subscription based.
Yeah.
So there's this company called the Good Patch. And my mom got me a thing of melatonin patches, and so they have patches for a variety of different things, right? Like if you're trying to sleep or if you just want to relax. And the brand, I looked at it, I was like, I like this branding. Like it's just the
It's
packages
strong.
are very good,
Really good.
But yeah, I got that as well.
So
I've not used these melatonin patches yet, but I have 4 melatonin patches.
So your mom was like, all right, what do I want to? How does Santa want to gift this year?
And mind you, she also did give me the one physical present. So this was
No. She got Rudy a good. There's a good
Yes.
gift coming here, and we'll get to that in shot clock reviews. Do you want to say what it was? No, so you don't. It doesn't matter. It's an apple.
It's an apple, candied apple.
And Rudy's wearing it on top of his head, like what's his name from the legend? Who had an apple? Shot an apple off your head. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah,
Samuel or something. Shot an apple off his head. Who did it?
Jesus.
William Tell. I almost
Nailed
said
it.
Samuel Tell, I think. I was not going to get William. Like William Tell.
Are we sure that wasn't one of Jesus's tricks? Turn apple or water into wine, shoot an apple off a person's head,
Yeah.
turn it into food for a year.
Yeah, that was Jesus's kind of dude perfect
Yeah.
stage of miracles, where it was just like trick shot.
Well, I mean, that's how you get people into you at first.
Yeah, of course.
You
got to go viral.
You start off with your party tricks: the water into wine, the no look, shoot an apple off somebody's head. That's how you get followers. Jesus would have killed it in today's social media. He would have went viral
Dude.
so fast.
Jesus's TikTok would have been so good. I think. I'm not sure. I feel like I got really close to come up with a pretty good bit somewhere there, but I couldn't quite land it, which is the inverse of the jokes that I had earlier about how you were wearing a new Christmas present, and I had to go through, 47 different iterations of that joke before I came up with one that I was comfortable saying on the radio. Anyway, I was going to read the brief summary of the legend of William Tell, but the Wikipedia page is so long, and even the summary is not a very good summary. So you know what I meant. What was I going to say before the apple that you're wearing on your head like William Tell's son? Oh, the pills. Let's come back to the pills real quick, and we're going to talk about Chiefs Bengals a bunch.
The pills are called
convenience.
GABA or GABA, by the way, GABA.
Like the brand of them or something?
Yeah, they're,
Okay.
they're like
Not
a
a sponsor.
brain neurotransmitter. Like,
Oh, so they're not just like
they're meant
B12.
for-
They're not
No,
just
yeah.
like
It's-
supplements.
it is
These are some like
they
use
are-
100% of your brain sort of thing.
They are meant for anxiety, is what my mom told me.
Okay. Do we know if these work?
No.
Okay.
My mom is a nurse practitioner, so
That's true?
I would assume like she's got a pretty good idea.
These aren't just like the gummy bears that are supposed to like keep your hair growing or whatever, and everyone's like, these are nothing. These are just gummy bears.
I guess they could be. I assume they're not. I assume my mom's done her research. I imagine she has dealt with these before, would be my guess. But I could be wrong. Could be full of sugar.
Which at that point, it's just a different type of candy. Just new candy for this year. You just open up the little capsules and it's like a pixie stick.
She said, "Be careful; they'll make you sleepy." I'm like, I'm already sleepy, so they'll have no side effects.
Oh yeah. So this makes sense here. You've been taking it since you were 14 years old.
Yes.
It appears. Yeah, I mean, it says that it's a supplement to try to improve mood, relieve anxiety, improve sleep. Those, if honestly, now that we're at this point in the story, if you were like, hey, what's something that you could give to Rudy as a gift that he would really love? I'd be like, man, I don't know. If there was just somewhere that we could improve his mood, relieve his anxiety, and improve his sleep, I think that'd really help.
The problem is I'm trying to get back like on my routine, and part of this is just holidays and vacations and everything. It's just like way off, right? Like, so I'm trying to get back into a routine because the last thing I want to do is, I was like, yeah, I told my mom, I was like, yeah, I'll give him a try. Last thing I want to do is be taking him like, yeah, I remember to take him today, but I forgot to the next day, and then it's all erratic because then nothing's going to work that way. So the goal is starting tomorrow is to get myself back on like a normal routine where I'm remembering to do things, like take a pill at a certain time.
I gotta tell you, man, that's harder than harder than it looks.
Yes. I'm pretty good once I have a routine, but my routine is just all out of whack because I worked like 3 days over the course of a month, pretty much, it seemed like, because I had all these vacation days.
I was reading some Twitch chat before I was going to throw to our break here. And it's, it's a bunch of our regular friends in the Twitch chat, which you can join, by the way. You can watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube channels. The Twitch chat is usually the most involved, I would say, which is great because I love looking over and then just seeing that a bunch of people have been talking to each other around the show. It makes me very happy every time. But it's our regular beloved Twitch chatters, and then there's a just one comment on the YouTube channel, and it's just the name is just a bunch of Russian letters. And I just want to say shout out to all of our Russian viewers and listeners. It's Almost Entirely Sports. You guys are diehards. I appreciate that. Great White North and all that. Even farther in the north than Seth Kaiser. Probably, right? I don't really know how the globe would work. We're pretty far up on the globe scope of things.
It's close.
I'm going to look up a globe during the break. We'll confirm that before we come back and talk to Kent Swanson. Claude says, I can inhale York patties. I mean, not literally I would die, but I can eat a lot of them in a row. I think... Now, look, you know how every dad ever used to say something about how back in the day, back before the knee injury or whatever, they could totally dunk on a 10-foot rim or whatever? Here's my version of that. Back in my pre-diabetes days, I would think that I could eat a truly upsetting amount of either York patties or mini M&Ms. You know the mini M&Ms that come in that long tube?
Yeah.
You pop the top off. It makes a very satisfying little.
You can also shake them up.
You can give them a little shake.
Rattle sound.
You get a little maraca, a great little pop sound, and you want to just pour back a few at a time. You can do that if you're a baby. I think if you lined up definitely 5 of those, I could just house 5 of those back to back.
Those things were a chocolate shot for me.
Yeah, and a huge one, by the way.
Just one go.
That's the most satisfying way to do it, right? Like,
yeah.
Life's too short to eat one mini M&M at a time.
You're trying to put as many mini M&Ms as you can in your mouth without accidentally choking and dying.
These are the things that I've lost. The ability to eat mini M&Ms without wondering how many carbohydrates are in them. I wish I could push my glasses up on my nose, but I don't have glasses. I also was making fun of eating mini M&Ms that way, and then I just realized that was something pretty early within the last couple of months. Like, I know I have a little tiny bowl, and I know that if I just scoop that bowl into a bag of mini M&Ms, I know that little bowl is about 15 carbohydrates worth of miniature M&Ms. I don't like how quickly this show is aging.
Yeah, it's not fun.
I thought we were going to stay youthful longer.
Nah. I didn't even start the show youthful.
Your most youthful characteristic, I think, Rudy, is your love of Pokemon and assorted video games. But because of just life and work and everything, I feel like you've been playing less of those.
So I was thinking about this because, like, for Shot Clock reviews, and some of this might just be I'm forgetting things, but I remember thinking to myself, oh, I have so many things to add. And then I'm starting to realize, wait, maybe I don't. Maybe I just watched an absurd amount of Spider-Man movies, and that's really all I have to add. And then I started thinking, because, like, I bought Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. It's still in the plastic because I haven't played my PlayStation 5 in months.
You got a PS5,
Yes.
and it's collecting dust.
I mean, it gets used. My roommate uses it quite a bit for, like, Netflix and stuff.
That is deeply depressing.
But that it has basically become a Netflix player / ESPN Plus player.
So that's where you are at a point where you are using a PS5 to watch Netflix, and I'm at a point where I am counting how many mini M&Ms I can have before I have to stab myself with a needle full of magic water, which is what I call insulin. We'll get younger with Kent Swanson of KC Sports Network. He's a father and still has more youthful energy than the rest of this show combined. We'll talk to Kent next.
Want more Almost Entirely Sports? Watch the show live on the Sports Radio 810 Facebook page.
Every day you pull into your garage and
That's onerequest.com.
This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
If you haven't gotten the context clues, it's Kent Swanson now of the KC Sports Network back in the building.
Yeah, it's the opportunity we've been waiting for to talk to you again. Finally, there's been some some restrictions there,
right?
And now I get to hang out with you again. It has been 3 years since I've been on this show.
Death is a big restriction.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
He lives, and his work lives all over KC Sports Network. It's Kent Swanson of KCSN. You can check out the Substack at kcsn.substack.com. Follow him on Twitter, but not too many of you. I think we got close again. At Kent_Swanson. Kent, have you checked the numbers lately? I'm afraid to look, actually. It's been a slow stretch for me. I haven't been in the hospital recently.
I know, yeah. You played your last card, buddy. You're delaying the inevitable. I'm like 600 off.
Yeah, I just double checked. That's like exactly right. And actually, you know what? I also put out the Get Engaged just for Twitter engagement card, and that I don't think that really added to my lead right now.
We should set a line just for our own personal. We're not going to tell anybody. We're not going to do anything obscene to try to draw attention to our profiles, except for just be ourselves. We should set a line on if like we'll call it we'll set one March 31st or something. We'll see if I can pass you by March 31st or something. I'm curious. It's been a good couple months here at KCSN, and I'm guessing that's what's happening with the Twitter.
The idea that I wouldn't constantly be doing something obscene to try to grow my Twitter following is so alien to me. That. Doing something obscene for attention, I mean, I've literally been doing for 20 years now, minimum, maybe since birth.
I think that's what we saw a few months ago. It was all planned. And
that's right.
But I know we're in the bit and you're trying to get in, the engagement joke, but man, congratulations. I am so glad that this day is finally here because I have virtually wink, nod, nudge, nudged you forever, and you finally did it. I mean, fiance Renee sounds better.
So much better.
It always has.
Yeah.
It literally rolls off the tongue. So I don't know why you delayed the inevitable here either.
Oh my pancreas! Hey, Rudy, I gotta go. Can you take this from here, Rudy? Hey, you know what? What feels rude, Kent? I feel like that finally getting engaged should not bring up more questions that I've had to dodge for any number of years now. Of why aren't you engaged yet?
Just wait till you talk to Seth next.
Well, we did times ours.
True.
He never mentioned it.
You didn't know.
He didn't even mention it. I know. I was shocked, and I didn't even want to mention that he didn't mention it because I thought it would be funnier to hang it over his head whenever he eventually does mention it. 6 months from now or whatever. He just didn't bring it up.
That's like a long-standing public-facing bit.
I know
he's goaded you about starting a family and all that stuff
on
this radio program.
Oh, dude, it did just hit me that questions about having kids are gonna be so. And that one, the nice thing is that at least on that one, I can just be like, why don't you talk to Renee, huh? Why don't you pick that one up with her? Because that one. I'll let her take that fight with Seth. Or you for that matter. You don't feel like a bullying other people into having kids type of person yet.
No, I mean I pick my battles. I pick my spots here and there. But I mean I'm just gonna say, kids are dope, and you're gonna someday you'll be like, okay, I get it. Let's just say that, okay?
Sure. Yeah, it's just that I don't know if I have time right now between Scout the dog and Troy Aikman. I already kind of have a lot of dependents to take care of.
Yeah, you got some kids of yourself. You really do. You really do.
Listen, this radio show is my baby, right? Oh man, I just don't talk to it for days on end. Don't really stay in touch very well.
Only see it for a few hours at night.
Yeah, that's probably not a good path of parenting. Well, thank you, Kent. I appreciate your both your nudging and your you appreciating it here now. Unlike my fake friend Seth, who only wanted to talk about it whenever he could use it as a weapon against me.
Yeah, see, you unarmed him. So that's always a good thing too, because he's got enough lawyer speak in there. He's got enough in his repertoire already.
Yeah, he's just like a hydra though, is the concern. I'm gonna chop off one arm and 2 more are gonna grow back, and he'll send his kids after me. I don't know. We'll figure that out. But look, as we were talking about earlier in the show, at that point, really, I think it could be argued that Renee needed some better coaching. She got left in a one-on-one matchup right there, and I just saw a matchup that I was comfortable taking there, and she needed some help over the top, and she didn't get any. And so she said yes, and now I'm glad to be where I am, but I'm starting to wonder right now if she was getting proper coaching on, I don't know, the theoretical sort of 3rd and 27 of me just taking a shot for it there. Your thoughts?
I think she was just hoping for an incompletion. Oh man, yeah, your marriage is off to a great start. We'll be off to a great start. You're comparing it to Steve Spagnuolo's very gutsy, bold decision making on 3rd down in a must-win game.
Oh, did that happen?
Oh, did
wow.
you not? Wait, were you struggling with your bout with diabetes during the Chiefs game on Sunday and just kind of black out again?
Yeah, after the I don't know 3rd back-breaking Jamar Chase play, I just started snorting pixie sticks and hoped that I would black out again.
Josh, I need you to do something for me. If you are going to talk about Jamar Chase, can you please refer to him as former Kansas football commit Jamar Chase?
Absolutely.
Just please. Okay, thank you.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry.
That was a David Beatty recruit, right? That was David Beatty
that
era?
It was like the greatest 4 days in Kansas football history. They had
It was the very start of the Les Miles era. When he got there, he got 12 kids from Louisiana to commit in 24 hours.
It was Beatty.
Was
it? Beatty.
Was it?
Beatty. Yes.
I thought he was part
David
of the.
Beatty. No, it was David Beatty. He had the Louisiana connection with the running back coach.
Tony Hull. Yes. Tony Hull was the guy who got all those Louisiana kids, and most of them did not go to KU. But
can I just tell you guys really quick the hit rate on former Kansas commit? The quarterback in Houston, Jamar Chase. There's a linebacker that just transferred to Michigan State, Aaron Brule. I'm telling you, Reggie Roberson, who's going to be he's going to be drafted this year. It's remarkable how many kids almost go to Kansas. They should hang a banner, really.
What do you think? I'm reading a story right now about the Jamar Chase initial KU commitment. What do you like? What could they have said to him?
They it was just the right time, man. They got 5 kids all at the same time that were just all I don't know, why not? And then they did it. Most of them did it for 4 days and regretted their decision immediately. But there's pictures of Najee Harris in a KU jersey or a KU shirt because he visited. Yes. I'm telling you, KU is a lot of things. And they aren't a lot of things. They're not winners, but they've been on the right kids. They've been on the right kids. They just haven't pushed it across the goal line, and they haven't put it across the goal line very much historically in real life either.
You mentioning that it lasted 4 days does have me concerned about a verbal decommitment from Renee, but I feel like at this point, if I stress that too much, I think it's only going to make it worse.
Josh, you've been recruiting her for 8 years.
I
watched the videos of you and Renee that you posted a couple months ago doing something at our fine alma mater.
This morning, yes, our finest work.
You should have just got out of the way and let her kind of just run that thing because you were really hindering her. I'm surprised. I'm just surprised that after all that, you guys you're still together.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's been proven time and time again. If you can make it through your time at MNU and come out still together on the other side, I think that's a pretty through the fire and flames, as they say.
I mean, most people get married before they leave MNU. I think the motto should be, if you leave MNU unmarried, it's probably not going to work.
No, it's if you leave MNU without getting married, your money back guaranteed is what I believe was on my tuition dollars.
Yeah, I just missed that promotion by a few years. I was really disappointed.
Yeah, yeah, it really helped attendance, and didn't necessarily help any human beings, I don't think. But look, man, it's just a love factory. I mean, that's what they call it. That's the new campus center they built. They're just calling it the love factory because that's what MNU is.
Ring by spring, baby.
Ring by spring. That has been a continuing tradition. Do you want to talk about the Chiefs? I can't come up with another good ring pun, something about if Patrick Mahomes wins a second ring by spring. I don't have it. I mean,
you were workshopping it in your head. You ran out of time. You ran out of run with it, and that's okay.
I had one attempt on the 3rd and 27 thing, and we still ended up back here again because neither one of us have very much self-control or general topic discipline. So, Kit, what did you think about the Chiefs losing that game to the Bengals? That sure stunk, huh?
Oh, that was infuriating. It was sad. There were so many emotions there because that was I mean, this team fought so hard to get back to the point that they were. They have no tiebreakers on any team essentially in the AFC playoffs. They were on the verge of a 2-game lead on everybody except for the Tennessee Titans. And they just went out. That doesn't matter anyway. And a horrific scenario happens for them. The last chance I think that the Titans actually have a losing goes nowhere, and the Chiefs just completely, poop the bed in so many factors, and I don't get me started on the rest again. I did pass out for 2 days after that. I was so I was so mad. What a hot mess, Josh. I'm not over it. I'm not going to be over it, especially if it ends up costing them.
Do you? 100%. And one of my things is that I don't think that my perception of the Kansas City Chiefs really changed on Sunday, outside of the enormous fact of their current spot, meaning they have to play an extra football game in the playoffs now instead of getting to skip a week and get healthy and not have to play against another team. Did your opinion of them change, or is your fury and rage coming from that loss of the 1 seed, or is it both?
It's the last of 1 seed. I don't think there is a ton you can I don't think you should be making sweeping declarations about this football team. Mm-hmm. I think we saw them flex, their muscles a little bit offensively and show the capabilities of this group. In the first half. I don't think the Bengals offense was very good. I know it's a weird statement to make. But the only thing that they really had going for them offensively was throwing outside the numbers to Jamar Chase.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. That was what was working. They were getting themselves in 3rd downs and 4th downs. They were having to get themselves into more 3rd downs and 4th downs because the refs were continuing to extend drives and give. I mean, I think I saw the WPA or whatever, the expected points out of whatever it's called, for the penalties that the Chiefs incurred was just dramatic.
Yes.
And it's because this team was getting off the field. They were, they were doing their job when it came to everything outside of throwing outside the numbers. And, I don't think it's a sweeping indictment on the defense either. I think these corners are very good at specific things, and they're not at some things, and they got exposed by a otherworldly former Kansas football commit.
Exactly. If I made you pick a category of thing, and you can literally pick one, and I'm going to make sure we have time to talk about the 5 different things that it could be. But if you were going to pick one thing that does stick with you as man, that's the biggest reason they lost, or the most frustrating thing, the biggest culprit, where would you start?
The refs. And I'm not that guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry. That was one of the most embarrassing performances I've seen from an officiating. I am not normally the refs affected the outcome of this football game, but the refs unequivocally affected the outcome of that football game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the decisions, the time, even if you just the false start in the red zone,
Mm-hmm.
at the goal line, if you just that play alone, I think really changes the outlook of this game. Mm-hmm. So but it wasn't, and it's not that there's one call here or there, you don't get too upset, right? You don't get too worked up or fired up. It's just the volume of iffy calls going the Bengals' way, the volume of bad calls in favor of the Bengals, disproportionate to what we saw with the Chiefs. I genuinely think that the Chiefs did enough to win that football game, despite Jamar Chase going berserk. Mm-hmm. And the offense kind of sputtering in the second half. Andy, I think you can see the game management in the second half from Andy a little bit differently.
Yeah.
Offensively, I don't know if his guess was entirely wrong, but this is why playing in close games late and maybe kind of taking your foot off the gas a little bit is a detriment to your football team too.
Yeah. So along those lines, then, because if you point at the refs first, that's fine. But there's also nothing that you can do about it if you're the Chiefs, right? Other than ask the NFL to not have that crew again. So if you were going to, which I'm sure they'd listen to, so if you were going to pick among things that you think there's something actionable from last week to the playoffs, is there a lesson to be learned somewhere in there?
Yeah, you might want to change things up a little bit if the team's completing those low percentage throws. You can't rely on your outside cornerbacks to go make plays. And so there are some teams that can win outside the numbers. There's some big bodies receivers that can make some plays and be physical through contact and can really challenge the Chiefs outside the numbers. And if you get into a situation where an A.J. Brown's going to go win at the catch point or Julio Jones is going to go win at the catch point, you got to make some adjustments quicker. And I guess that's ultimately the big one for me personally. I don't know. I don't think the entire game plan should have been thrown out the window for the Chiefs. I just think that one small adjustment there defensively, that changes the outcome a little bit.
I mean, you have a good feel of what Spags could do or has done in situations maybe sort of like that, or what you would like to see. Do you have, you could be as specific or as vague with it as you feel like is helpful, but I'm just genuinely interested. What should it have looked like and roughly when? Should they be, okay, all right, we're in over our heads here on this guy, or if it's A.J. Brown, like you said, whoever it ends up being, what should this team in particular do differently?
Well, I mean, you got a bracket, and I think the Chiefs have done a fantastic job historically of really protecting, their outside corners, and they really do try to force low percentage throws. But with some of those guys, you've got to be more mindful about sticking guys over the top of them and not putting them in those one-on-ones. I mean, you're joking about it with your, earlier, but that's the truth. Is you just can't allow them without help to sit over the top. You just can't. You have to sit over the top of a Charvarius Ward against a guy like A.J. Brown or Jamar Chase if you see him again. These are guys that are just problems, and it's really not that complicated. He wanted to really add to the pass rush in some situations with some pressure, and pressure was getting home. And they've really got to do a better job of being more committed to sitting guys over the top of stud receivers, and even though they're low percentage throws, just got to be more mindful of them moving forward.
Last thing real quick, would you rather see the Chiefs actually play everybody on Saturday or go ahead and get their bye week there and just assume that the Texans aren't going to make it happen?
Well, no, I think you gotta win out, and so go win the game. If you get out, the dream is win. Get out early. Get out ahead early, and Chad Henne, coasts all the way home. But I think they need the 2 seed. I think the 1 seed, even if the Titans, win, I think they're the worst 1 seed in the history of football. And anything could happen. The Chiefs could still host an AFC Championship game in Arrowhead very easily because I don't believe in the Titans. But go play, go win. Hopefully you win big and you can give some guys some rest.
You want a Davis Mills jersey if they win, though?
Yeah, we got to come up with a more fun phrase than Fitz Magic if that happens. We got to workshop that for the next couple of days.
Okay.
Maybe that'll be one of the things that kind of springboards one of our
Yep.
social media followings.
Yep, I'm going to have it ready to go. I'm going to tell you that it's Milzer time. That's my starting point. You have a few days to do better than that. See you, Kent.
Ooh. Oh, all right, buddy. Catch you later.
Kent Swanson of KC Sports Network. Don't follow him on Twitter at Kent_Swanson. I would hate it if you did that. Please don't.
You're listening to Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Joe's Kansas City Barbecue has made their New Year resolution, and it's just...
exemption. The government looked at it, reviewed it, and went, rules are rules. Sorry.
This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
We're number 4. We're number 4. We're number 4. We're number 4. Our number 4. You can go to hell.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
On the NFL news front here, there is a really long statement from Antonio Brown released through his attorney. The gist of it ultimately is him saying that all of the things that happened against the Jets were him relenting to... I'll read you these couple of sentences here because these are kind of interesting. Everything else is a little more secondary, but he says, because of my commitment to the game, I relented to pressure directly from my coach to play injured. Despite the pain, I suited up. The staff injected me with what I now know is a powerful and sometimes dangerous painkiller that the NFLPA has warned against using, and I gave it my all for the team. I played until it was clear that I could not use my ankle safely to perform my playing responsibilities. On top of that, the pain was extreme. I took a seat on the sideline, and my coach came up to me very upset and shouted, "What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you?" I told him it's my ankle, but he knew that. It was well documented, and we had discussed it. He then ordered me to get on the field. I said, "Coach, I can't." He didn't call for medical attention. Instead, he shouted at me, "You're done," while he ran his finger across his throat. Coach was telling me that if I didn't play hurt, then I was done with the Bucs. I didn't quit. I was cut. I didn't walk away from my brothers. I was thrown out. And then there's a whole other page. There was a equal amount before and after that on page 1, and then an entire page 2. So there's a lot. I was just sort of catching up through some of it during the break. I will say at the end, he says he loves Bucs fans, and then says he's getting off-season surgery. He says, once my surgery is complete, I'll be back to 100% and looking forward to next season. Business is going to be booming. I mean... I don't know, man. There's a lot here. Schefter just said Antonio Brown accused the Bucs of engaging in a, quote, ongoing cover-up. He said an MRI on his ankle, quote, shows broken bone fragments stuck in my ankle, the ligament torn from the bone, and cartilage loss, which are beyond painful. That's all a direct quote. And says he'll undergo surgery. You could go any number of directions with that, because I think there's a lot of different things you could say about Antonio Brown in theory that would make some sense. That's another wrinkle on it, though, that we'll talk about some here with our friend Robert Rimpson of Fox 4. Robert, I hope you're paying attention to some of that or also reading along, because that is not what I thought you and I would chat mostly about today, but the NFL news cycle, it never stops.
AB never fails to disappoint. All right. You can say whatever you want about Antonio Brown. He makes the news cycle exciting, that's for sure.
It's a super interesting story, too, because we have well-documented, obvious facts of Antonio Brown being a unpleasant and occasionally, I believe, criminally, potentially unpleasant person. And then there's also, you can read that statement, hear that statement, and go, man, I mean, if that actually comes through as legitimate, that's a pretty bad look for the Bucs. And maybe, while deeply unprofessional and still a bit of a temper tantrum, maybe Antonio Brown's story is open there. We talked to our friend Matt Derrick, mentioned this on Sunday Sound-Off this week. Weird of me to mention a TV show that's not one that you work on, Robert. Just ignore that for me. But Matt mentioned, as he also mentioned on the 810 postgame show, that the NFL could also be doing a better job of working with their players on their mental health and all of that, which is also, I think, true. But yeah, man, I mean, it is a cornucopia of potential topics just surrounding Antonio Brown at all times. Should this Chiefs sign him this offseason, Robert? Straight the transaction. Just skip the mental health, skip all the real stuff, transaction radio.
Listen, I'll say one thing. If this is AB's, if what he's saying turns out not to be true, and this is his reaction to getting 10 targets last week, and then this week being asked to play when he wasn't, imagine the news cycle if Andy Reid started treating him like he treats Josh Gordon, right?
Oh, my
Just like a couple snaps to start, then maybe you get 3 targets a game, maybe. Like, imagine that. Imagine AB working under Andy Reid, just slowly dripping him in like a faucet that you turn on during winter so your pipes don't freeze. But
that alone is a really good counter argument.
Yeah. But to be fair, I think, actually, Josh, to start, you downplayed AB. You said he was a potential criminal. He's potentially a federal criminal, okay?
Very good.
Taking a vaccination card is a federal crime.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. Yeah.
So don't downplay AB and his accomplishments, okay? But to be fair, it seems like no matter how anyone feels about Antonio Brown, that you're just wrong all the time. It doesn't matter what you say. Like, if you say he's all a bad guy, he's all terrible, you're wrong because, you know, there are people that give testimonies. Oh, AB's not that bad of a teammate. Tom Brady, you know, gives his riveting reviews of him or whatever. And you'll have other people that are like, oh, he's got some mental health issues, clearly. You guys are sitting here making fun of him, but that guy really needs some help. He's really not that bad. And then that just kind of feels like you're shifting responsibility off of him. So it just feels like, and then this comes out about the Pucks potentially, like, doing a cover-up. Like, it seems like no matter what you say about Antonio Brown, you're wrong. And and that's probably what makes him one of the more interesting players in the NFL right now.
Yeah, because, I mean, it's interesting. I think this usually ends up being sort of like a lazy thing to say about somebody, to go like, you know what, drama just follows them. Or it just seems like no matter what they're doing, good or bad, there's something bad always happens around them. Usually I don't think that's very fair, because I don't know if you really can make that about that individual person if they're just in the middle of a tornado at all times. But that feels more true about Antonio Brown than it is about, like, anyone. Usually that gets put on Terrell Owens, and that I don't think is fair. Antonio Brown is another level.
Yeah, it's literally everywhere he goes. Something happens without fail. And, hey, you might get a Super Bowl out of it. Right. You might get a good playoff runs out of it like Pittsburgh did.
Right.
But something's going to happen, right? You might just only get a couple touchdowns out of it like New England did, but, you know.
Or just some burnt feet like the Raiders and a blonde mustache. It's just wild. I don't know how anybody could not at least be interested in all of that, because I don't know that he really has a peer in terms. Also, while doing it all while being a potentially unprecedented type of talent at that position in all of football history, perhaps. Just wild. Anyway, we can go ahead and shift our focus from the things happening around Antonio Brown to the things that happened to the Chiefs, if you'd like, because this has been sort of my starting point since the post-game show. You could legitimately, I believe, point at least 3 and maybe like 4 or 5 different things and say that is the biggest reason that the Chiefs took that loss the way that they did. But if I made you pick a starting point and having a few days to sit on it, what was the biggest issue for the Chiefs on Sunday?
I think you have to say it's Steve Spagnuolo's his stubbornness is probably the biggest reason they lost. If you want to say the inability to score in the second half was part of the reason, I get that as well. But I think most of this falls at the feet of Spag, just because even in the press conference today, he said something around the lines of, I don't see us changing much. I want us to stay aggressive. When you're going up against a guy like it doesn't even have to be a guy like Jamar Chase, but just someone that's having a day like Jamar Chase was having, you've got to change it up at some point. Even it reminded me a lot of Tyreek Hill's game against the Buccaneers last year, where he just absolutely torched them in the first half, and then they made adjustments in the second half and kind of slowed them down. He still, don't get me wrong, he still had a big day. Chiefs still won that game, but the adjustments the Buccaneers made, even in that game, helped them win the Super Bowl that year.
Yeah.
So I think Spag's inability to, on 3rd and 27, just don't leave Jamar Chase one-on-one in the biggest play of the game. I think that's what really hurt the Chiefs more than anything else. Obviously, there are some other things that I won't mention yet.
Right.
But, you know.
Well, to that point and to the point of Spags' presser today, I mean, I thought I misheard him at first, and then he explained it, but saying that they were treating that play like it was either a 3rd and 6 or 3rd and 7, he said. Because they're talking about field goal range. And also, if you get home on Burrow, then you probably take them out of field goal range if you're able to bring them down. I understand that. And, I mean, I don't know, man. This is something that I was thinking about driving in today of like, Chiefs fans hate the phrase bend but don't break. That's usually the type of defense you associate with Bob Sutton, and it usually also ended with breaking. But whenever you get a very aggressive, blitz-heavy defensive coordinator that wants to go get the kill shot, not just play back, you also can get bit by that. I understand the juxtaposition there. I really like Steve Spagnuolo. I like what he's done his entire time here. Even if you are really aggressive, like you mentioned him saying in his presser today, even if you don't want to change the character of your defense, which I think seems reasonable, you've got to be able to pick a spot to throw an off-speed pitch, right? Like the off-speed pitch of simply, let's bracket Jamar Chase here on 3rd and 27, because letting them get closer to field goal range is a much lesser threat than just the simple existence of this alien playing wide receiver.
Yeah. And I'll go even further with Spagnuolo than you are. I am super high on Steve Spagnuolo as a defensive coordinator. Like, what he's been able to do with this Chiefs defense, can you imagine any other defensive coordinator doing what he's doing with his defense with the pieces he has at corner right now?
Yeah.
Like, not to downplay Charvarius. L'Jarius Sneed is obviously a stud. But having a core of mainly Charvarius Ward, Rashad Fenton, DeAndre Baker sometimes, and making that work is not easy. So Spags deserves a lot of credit for that. I think he's one of the top 5 defensive coordinators in the game right now.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, but like you said, just sticking to your identity is fine, especially when your identity has been working as well as it has this season for the Chiefs. It's just when a guy is if there's one situation where you're like, okay, let's change it up just this one time. It's when a guy is going for 3 tutties and 200 yards on you right now. Right? I think then is the time, okay, maybe just this one play. We'll do something different.
Yeah. Not only do I think Spags deserves all that credit among the secondary, I would even extend it to Sneed, because you mentioned DeAndre Baker and Mike Hughes has played pretty well. There are guys with more out of college talent or higher scouted opinions or whatever that have failed in other places that have looked better here. I mean, Charvarius Ward was coming into his own for a while now, but having all of those guys hit their stride under Spags, I certainly don't think is any sort of any sort of random coincidence. So I'm with you on the Spags love, while also just being very frustrated by that. You said there were some other things that you would not bring up right away in terms of big issues. If I give you your second category, is it going to the offense or is it going to the third party who was involved in that game?
I think you have to talk about the third party at this point, right? It's so lame, because talking about referees is just there is no winning when you talk about referees after a game. Yep. The losing team hates talking about referees because it feels like you're making an excuse for bad play. The winning team hates you talking about referees because it feels like you're taking away from the Bengals, who played a fantastic game on Sunday, right? The referees hate it when you talk about referees because they are the referees. The NFL hates it when you talk about referees. They'll fine you. Nobody likes talking about referees, and yet it feels like you have to, because those types of calls, whether they were called or weren't, they made a huge impact on the game. And it sucks talking about them, and it's so frustrating. But the false start that wasn't called when they were on the goal line, that was terrible. L'Jarius Sneed getting called for a horse tackle penalty when there was no horse tackle, that obviously was a huge, huge play during the game. It's just these type of calls have a huge impact on the game, and it sucks that we have to even mention them or even talk about them when there's so much else we could be talking about. I hate wasting time on it.
Yeah, I do too. I agree with that 100%. It is the loser's lament, and no one enjoys any part of that conversation ever. But it's impossible to tell the story of this game without mentioning the referees. But it's also not helpful because it's not like they're going to play differently against the Broncos or in the playoffs because they realize, oh, you know what? Maybe we end up with another really terrible refereeing crew. We're going to play a lot of off coverage. There's not an adjustment to make there, but it's also, like you said, I mean, it is just sticky tacked onto the game as a barnacle, as a growth that I'd rather look past. Is there anything to be done there other than we just all point at it and go, that sucks, and then move on? Or is there something that, I don't know, do you have a grand theory for, like, the NFL could make this less of a problem if they X, Y, or Z? Or is it something you just are going to be annoyed about for another day or two and then we got to move on?
I mean, listen, the only way, I think, the only reason I'm holding on to any hope that the NFL would change refereeing is, well, at first I thought there's no way they're changing it because unless for some reason bad refereeing is bringing down NFL views or bringing down how much people are watching football games, they're not going to care that much. Like I think you saw what Jerry Jones said about making the referees full-time employees. Like if that's his mindset about hiring people to become full-time employees to referee the most important sport in America right now, then, there's not a lot of hope there. But the only reason I have a tiny bit of hope is they did something about taunting, something no one cares about.
Yeah.
No one cares about taunting, and they still changed it.
Yeah.
Possibly for the worse. That's the only reason I'm hanging out to any semblance of hope that they'll change refereeing. If they can care about taunting that much when no one cares about it, maybe one day they'll look up and say, it's time to do something about these referees. Or at least the bad calls that happen and just inexplicably change games that are otherwise fantastic.
Speaking of changing things that I know that you have opinions on, because I thought about this, and I've also been considering this just in the last couple of weeks, thinking it might be time for me to start exploring potentially a next-gen console, and in part because I really do miss having a good, easy way to play Madden. But I also know that you have some opinions on the latest edition of Madden. I know lots of people have lots of opinions about several recent editions of Madden. And I'm not talking about John Madden. If you want to talk about John Madden at any point, you are more than welcome to. I've had a great time talking about him. But what about the current state of Madden, the video game, and where I should be in terms of trying to scratch my Madden itch for the first time in, I don't know, 5 or 6 years?
Okay. I'll say this much. Madden 22 next gen is better than Madden 21 next gen.
Okay.
That's fair.
Okay.
Madden 22 next gen is better than Madden 20 last gen.
Okay.
There's still a lot of problems with Madden 22. I mean, mobile QBs are impossible to stop because contains don't work in the game. There's so much wrong with the game. Okay, I'll say this, though. For the casual person that wants to jump back into Madden, you might as well jump in as soon as you can. Because when I jumped back into Madden during Madden 20, and what daunted me, because I hadn't played Madden since, Madden 11 when I jumped to 20. Yeah. So the longer you wait, the more features that are going to come out, and the more you have to catch up, right?
Yeah, good call, yeah.
So if you want to jump in and scratch that Madden itch, I would. But if you do that, I recommend, watching a YouTube video or two just to try and catch you up, because you don't want to get caught, not knowing what features do what. And, you can go into practice mode and they'll do little tutorials for you, but they won't teach you, blitzes that are broken that you can use, that everybody is using. And if you don't know what they do, you're kind of screwed. So I would recommend watching some videos. If you want to jump into Madden 22, you can. But I will warn you, there will be some frustration along the way, okay? If you live with someone else, tell them to be prepared to hear a lot of screaming, okay? There will be a lot of frustration, especially if you go up against someone that has been playing for Madden for a long time. There will be frustration, okay? But for the 5 seconds that you have fun, it'll be worth it.
Oh, man. I don't know if that's worth me buying an Xbox or PlayStation. I don't have a strong opinion right now, one or the other. If you do, I'm also here for that. Nor do I think that is a great endorsement for the $60 price tag, I imagine, on these games. I just pulled this up, by the way, because I said it's been 5 to 8 years, I think I said, since I played Madden. And I started doing the math. The last Madden I remember owning a physical copy of was Madden 10. And I played a lot of Madden 08. but I've been out of the game for a while, and so I'm wondering if this is even for. Maybe I missed it. Here's what I want. I don't even really care about like online play. I want a good franchise mode. Are any of these good franchise modes?
Okay, I'll say this about Madden 22 franchise mode. If this were Madden 21 franchise mode, I tell you, don't bother. They don't care about franchise mode. Don't even bother.
Okay.
This year's Madden franchise mode, they've added a lot of new stuff.
Okay.
I haven't digged into it a whole bunch because, I'm more of an online player. But from what I hear, they added a lot of new features. People are happy with it. They haven't done a lot of upkeep, a lot of stuff they haven't patched all the way. But if there was a year to get back into Madden to play franchise, this is the year.
Okay.
They've added a lot of new features. That was one of their selling points this year, was that they were going to put a lot of work into franchise mode, and I believe they did do that. I've seen a lot of people that love franchise say that this year's franchise mode is a lot better than years previous. Pretty fair.
That's encouraging, I guess. And also tempting. But the issue is that eventually this is going to lead to me like reminding myself that I shouldn't essentially spend like $600 to play Madden franchise mode. Like,
here's the deal, Josh. Okay, let's be honest with ourselves. You want a football game, and there's only one football game.
That's
okay,
right. Yeah.
So that's at the end of the day, that's what you're going to have to ask yourself. Do you really want to play football that badly? Do you really want to play virtual football that badly? The answer for me is obviously yes.
For me, the answer is yes, so I can pretend to be a GM again.
Yeah.
I might as well just re-download Madden 08 on my PC. Like, that's where it all started. I remember that being fine. You can do custom rosters. I can do it with old players. That's all okay.
There's nothing wrong with that. You can do that if you want to. Okay? There's nothing wrong with going back to old Maddens, reliving some nostalgia. I believe, who did I see on Twitter? Jordan Foote. He plays 2K14 on the Xbox 360, okay, as a GM. And that is a ton of fun, okay? There's nothing wrong with that. If you want to scratch your football itch that way, you can. But even when you do that, I'm telling you right now, there's going to be the back of your head that's like, what would this look like if it were on a PlayStation 5?
Yes!
What if these features were in the game that they talked about? There's always going to be that voice in the back of your head saying that.
Did you have the Madden growing up experience that so many of us had of like, oh yeah, this played an enormous part in me loving this game that is now the most important game in the entire country by a pretty hefty margin, largely through a video game with a famous coach on it? Did you have an experience along those lines, or were you in, regardless of the video game status, sort of vis-a-vis John Madden?
Yes, I did have that experience. Here's the funny thing about me, though. Everybody talks about Madden 04 because of Michael Vick and how overpowered he was, blah, blah, blah. That wasn't my first Madden. My first Madden was next year's, Madden 05.
Yeah.
With Ray Lewis on the cover
yes.
with the hit stick feature.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something else. Being able to just crush people with the hit stick was game-changing. I didn't really do franchise modes that much. Me and my brothers and my cousins and whoever we were playing with at the time, we would just create characters, put them on our favorite team, and go to work. Go to town. Go crazy. And just doing that was so much fun, right?
Yeah.
And even then, I didn't even understand football that well.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't understand the rules. We just turned off all the penalties and we just played. And that was fun. And that was fine.
Yeah.
And that's how fun just Madden video game football can be. It's just, you can have literally zero understanding of the rules going into the game, and it's still a ton of fun.
What was your console of choice?
At the time, so here's the thing. We had two consoles. We had GameCube, and we also had PlayStation 2. Okay? We started with the Madden 05 on the PlayStation 2. I believe that disc got scratched up or broken or something like that. We ended up getting it on the GameCube as well, and both were equally fine experiences. Nothing too different or bad about those experiences. Both were equally fine.
I love the GameCube controller so much. That was my first console. I still have it. I'm honestly thinking now that if I just grab Madden 06 on GameCube, which I do still have, and just buy a new, bigger memory card, I feel like I could do that and save myself $500 and just play a 16-year-old video game. Oh my goodness, we've got video games right now, Robert, that we're going back to that are almost old enough to like go into the military.
Yeah, man, it's so crazy how much. Like when you said you miscounted the math about when's the last time you played Madden, I've done that so many times, right? Because usually the math is, oh, if this happened in this year, then we have to just count back from 2000, and it's only, but you have to add a decade because the 2010s happened already.
They're gone.
2010 to 2019 happened already. So you have to add that math in there. You're adding a whole decade, which is crazy.
A million years old, man. That happens fast. Good Lord. All right, there was something else I wanted to ask you about. I've forgotten what it is now because I'm spiraling into a absolute total loss. It was a TV thing. It's totally unrelated to football, but I thought this was funny and that you might have a thought on it because I don't know, you are in TV production, and I feel like you've got a good eye for what good television is. There's the tweet here that A-Rod might get his own Manningcast style ESPN Sunday Night Baseball program. I'm interested in what you think about the Manningcast, what has and hasn't worked, if you have or haven't been interested by it, and then also if you are down for an A-Rod version or for some other sport, somebody else potentially.
Okay, so I have three things to say about that group of words you just said there, okay?
All right.
First of all, anything that boosts how fun watching baseball is, I'm in favor for, okay? Anything to make baseball more enjoyable to watch, do it, because there needs to be a better way to consume baseball, okay? Two, the Manningcast, how I feel about it. Obviously, fantastic television. The Manning brothers, they're funny, they're super charismatic, the guests they bring on are awesome. Being able to see how their football minds work while they're watching football is just an obvious great thing to have on TV. My problem is I'm a producer, okay?
Yep.
So I'm worried about the people in the back that have to deal with how terrible everything is run all the time. Did you see the first episode? They had people running through the back trying to get mics on people. And then they would never throw to commercial. Oh, my gosh. The poor producer, man, that's in Peyton Manning's ear yelling, Peyton, please, we got to go to commercial. Please, go to commercial, Peyton, please. We have 10 seconds. And he just never goes to commercial. He just keeps talking, and they have to cut off Peyton freaking Manning while he's on TV. And then they're talking about, oh, my mic slipped up. I guess we have to have the producer just come in from the back. Like, that's not a problem to see on live television. It gave me producer anxiety watching it happen. Every night, I say a prayer for those poor producers that have to deal with the chaos that is the Manningcast.
I can't help but have all of those factors. I'm close enough to the production side, right, that I totally understand where you're coming from. I can envision that as well, but so much of me is so deeply wed to the chaos that only makes it more exciting television for me, because I know that some poor executive producer on weeks that, not executive, just producer, that some poor producer the weeks that game is simulcast on ESPN2 does not sleep from Monday to Monday because they are mortified of what's going to happen whenever Snoop Dogg joins with his AirPods in.
Come on. Or when Eli Manning gives the bird in the middle of the telecast. What are you doing? We're on live television, Eli. We can't do this. We can't do this.
But we need to do this. That's my counterpoint would be, you're right, but also we need more of that, and it fills me with joy. But I understand why it fills you with anxiety. That makes a lot of sense.
It's such good television, and it also gives me so much anxiety. But it's also such good television.
As all the best television really does, I think. I think that's, that's true for the Manningcast and Breaking Bad. There we go, everybody. That's good, anxious TV. Robert, thank you very much. Good luck not recreating all of those anxiety nightmares with your absolutely rambunctious crew over there at Fox 4. And good luck on Madden tonight, all right?
Thank you, sir. All right, shout out to Harold Toots and Rob Collins who make my job not like the Manningcast. Shout out to you, Josh. Okay, congratulations.
Thank you.
You and your fiance. Okay, I'm gonna pretend like my girlfriend of 7 years didn't hear me say that. Okay, it used to be us together in it, not being engaged. Wow. And now you've gone and done it. I can't believe you left me.
Man,
myself.
I didn't know that I was leaving you. I also didn't know that you had a 7-year-long relationship. I got a lot of questions, and I'm afraid that what just happened is I just realized that I can become Seth and Kent. That so quickly I can switch teams with nothing but a ring and a kneel down. One victory formation is all that it took. Wow. All right, I gotta deal with some things. But look, man, I'm sorry for leaving you behind. If you need any solace, I just basically left free agency, right? So I'm still here for you.
Listen, okay. I'll be sending you a strongly worded email. Okay.
if I do spend $600 on an Xbox and Madden and then start screaming at the TV, there's still a chance she may call it off.
That's fair. That's true.
That's fair. Give me a few more months. Thanks, Robert. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks for having me.
Robert Rimpson of Fox 4. Follow him on Twitter at Rimpsanity, RIMPSANITY. It's one of my favorite Twitter handles in Kansas City sports media. He's also a great Twitter follow to match the handle. Also, I mean, I just assume that no one's significant other is ever listening whenever they're on the radio, because that's just what I at least assume for me. But, shout out to Robert's girlfriend if she's listening. You, too, could get 33% of the rings of Troy Aikman. I don't know. Don't rush it, Robert. You take your time. I'm not going to be a bully, unlike Seth and Kent and everyone else in my life who decided to be a bully. She's got to let me get the Xbox after getting the ring, right? If it was, we can talk about that more whenever we come back.
Did you know you can listen to Almost Entirely Sports anywhere, anytime? Well, you can. Just...
short drive from I-35. Customer must register vehicle. Warranty is a limited powertrain warranty. See Kia.com or retailer for details.
You're listening to Almost Entirely Sports.
I hate Nick Bolton, and I hate him because he's a Missouri Tiger.
With Joshua Brisco. I hate Nick Bolton. On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
I don't hate Nick Bolton, man. Stop spreading that evil rumor. I really like Nick Bolton. It's freaking liners.
Except for when he gets in the way of Tyrann Mathieu to attempt to make a tackle.
That I did not.
I say attempt because, let's be honest, his tackling in that game was not great.
I have no opinions on that, personally.
I don't know that he was going to make the tackle if he got there or not.
Look, if you...
We'll never know
if
Nick Bolton was in the way.
If you and Matt Lane of KCSN want to say things like that, that can be up to you, but you couldn't even talk peewee football with me. So, real football guys know me.
I'm just saying. His tackling in that game,
I feel like there's a much better chance
was not
that
great.
I was trying to think of who of the
effort
weird
in the
feuds.
tackling. I've seen Marcus Peters put a lot more effort into tackles than some of Tyrann Mathieu's tackles in that game.
I just wanted to talk about the Xbox, the Manning cast. We got sad fans to do at some point, and you're just in here just making life miserable for me.
I did my first mock draft of the year. Because, I love a good mock draft.
Sheesh, Rudy.
Drafted a safety in the second round because I don't think he's going to be back next year. Weirdly enough, I used Pro Football Focuses. I did not plan on doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And they just have 2 rounds set up. Ended up drafting 2 players from Arkansas. So I was like, I guess we're just going. I went receiver, obviously, in the first round because I like receivers.
You're just picking out.
I saw Wan'Dale Robinson's name on there. And I was like, I'm not going to draft him because he's coming back to Kentucky. And then literally as the show was starting, he announced he's going pro. I was like,
now he can be a Chief.
I'd be happy.
Me too. I'd be fine with that.
He's good. Now, I will, as much as I would love Wan'Dale, he is a Tyreek, McColl. Well, he's not a full Tyreek. Tyreek's an outside receiver. I would say Wan'Dale's more of a slot receiver than NFL. But he's a smaller guy like those guys. Chiefs got enough small, fast guys.
Well, so honestly, God, I can't believe we're doing this on January 5th. I'm going to yank us out of the way of this in just a second. But you've got me thinking, and you know how bad I am about not just letting a thought just go to the wayside.
Yeah, for sure. I get it.
If I said right now the Chiefs are going to draft a receiver in the top 64 picks of next year's draft, okay?
God, please.
I'm saying that is a guarantee, okay? And that receiver's height is over under 5'10" and a half. Which way would you go?
I think I'll go over because I think I think as of right now, with the receivers on the team, they will target a specific type of receiver. Now that's also when I say also receivers on the team, that's also acknowledging that DeMarcus Robinson and Josh Gordon I think will not be on the team next year. Free agency could change all of that because maybe they sign the guys in free agency who I think they should go. The type. I think they're going to try to add again, a guy who is built like Sammy Watkins, basically, is what I'm saying.
They did this in last year's draft. And he just doesn't seem to. I'm guessing he's just not fast enough, if I had to guess. I'm not saying that your top 65 pick in this theory is just literally Cornell Powell, Rudy. I'm just thinking about the guys that the Chiefs have really been like, what, we're gonna stick our neck out for this guy because he runs a 4-point nothing.
They like their fast guys. That is, you are not wrong about that. I think they will go for more of a bigger body fast guy. Not a Cornell Powell who is a bigger body but not a fast guy.
I lean in that direction. But it's just funny to me that the 2 draft picks that have really worked, just a couple of 5'10", 180 something guys.
What I do firmly believe
speed
is because we've seen this every offseason.
They're definitely. I'll tell you what, they're not running a sub 4. What, sub 4.5?
Yeah.
There's a 4.443 guy for sure.
For sure. The one thing I'm confident, Chiefs every offseason overhaul something. I believe the receiver, and by receiver, I don't just mean wide receiver, but just receiving targets.
Pass catchers.
I think that's what happens. And a large part of that is all the guys who are going to hit free agency. It's also the fact that Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill are still amazing. They are getting older.
Yep.
We are getting to the point where there needs to be guys ready to replace them.
You know what makes me sad?
That I do believe that will happen. And Byron Pringle's not almost. He will be back.
Yes.
I think, and McCoy will be back because of the contract. I think those are the only three on this team that are probably back. And Marcus Kemp might sneak on because of his special teams, but I'm not really counting him as a receiver. He's a special teams guy.
So Dad's Garage Gaming on Twitch says Madden 22 is on PC.
Oh, yeah.
And that might just be, maybe that
Just the way
tempts
to
me.
do
We were
it.
talking about Xbox in the break. You know what makes me sad? Sorry, I'm going to land this thought also.
You're good.
I think, like, legitimately, like, at least, like, twice a game, Jody Fortson would make this offense
better.
Actually better.
Yep.
In, like, a somewhat substantial way.
Yep.
That really bums me out.
He'll be on the team next year.
Ice Pyro also says the old Madden games are on Xbox Game Pass, which is one of the things we were talking about.
I am pretty sure there is a deal, like EA or Origin, which is like their, I don't know if it's apparent. I don't know how that works. Origin, EA, it's the same thing. I think Origin might be what they call their gaming service.
It's the Steam equivalent,
yes.
as far as I understand. Okay.
I'm pretty sure they have a deal with Xbox to like have those up there, if not day one, very early on. I will say, especially depending on what you're going to. Obviously, you can get any sort of controller to pair it with a PC. Especially if you're not even necessarily super interested in playing the games as much as it is just going through the simulations of the actual drafting and all that stuff.
Yeah,
that might be a way to go. Would not be probably a terrible way to go at all. And
wait, which way are you saying? I was reading about 22.
Getting
going
it
the
just
PC
on
route.
PC.
Yeah.
Now part of that might just depend on I don't know what you like how strong your PC is.
I would think enough to run a fantasy draft, but not enough to render those graphics in beautiful shining HD.
For sure.
This also says it looks like Madden 22 will be on Game Pass in March 2022 when it's added to the EA Play library.
So maybe they have to wait till after the season is over to get the new one.
21 was added in March. 21. Yeah, I'm not sure. A lot of reading. I can leave this tab open and get back to that after the show. That one's not that important to anyone other than me. I really have been thinking about the Xbox / PS5 world, and I think that the number one thing, and Rudy guessed this when I was explaining it, I was saying it during the break, but I think the number one appeal that either side can add is that Game Pass seems like such an awesome deal, specifically for somebody like me, who I was going through to find I'm trying to remember a couple of games that I had downloaded on the Switch like this week. They had a big end of the year sale. I bought like 5 indie games. I had to archive some games on my Switch library. I am so willing to spend $5 on the Switch store for a game that I think looks cool or that I've gotten one good review on. I enjoy that. I love the kind of rotating through a game library, but also I'm just a variety guy. Like I just like trying different foods and different.
You want to bounce around between things.
I like trying, yeah. Like Renee got, and that's why I got engaged. I love variety. No, but like Renee for a couple of like little Christmas presents got like for the second year in a row a big thing of a bunch of different hot sauces and a bunch of different like sugar-free drink mixers. And I'm like, hell yeah, I am 100% ready. I love things that just let me try different experiences, flavors, games, whatever. Like I'm always down for that, and Game Pass feels like the absolute winner on that front. But I also do like, I would say 75% maybe of my Switch gaming is probably in handheld mode, while Renee and I are like watching something else on the actual TV.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know that it actually makes sense. I don't know how many hours I would put into an actual console at this point.
Yeah. And you know, the one nice thing, at least with Game Pass, it does give you some of that flexibility. Like I know obviously like there is game, and you know, Ice Pyro points out there's Game Pass on
PC also. Yeah.
Now
true.
I don't know
That's a good point.
all the extents. Again, like I've always had a PlayStation guy. There is remote play. Like I can access my PlayStation library essentially from my phone and play that stuff on my phone or on my tablet.
Nuts.
I assume Xbox has. I would assume a similar thing. I do not know that, But in theory, that could be like right, like you get a backbone for your phone.
Yeah.
Backbone is just a controller for anybody who doesn't know. And then from there, it could be that you have your Xbox on, you guys are watching something, and you're essentially playing, whatever game it is that you want to play from your phone in your living room,
And at that point, should I just buy Slay the Spire on my phone? I don't know. I've been opening it in the App Store, but it's $10.
I would assume there's probably like a Game Pass iOS app.
There's also Steam Link, which I haven't set up yet, and maybe that's how I play Inscription finally. I don't know, man. I like video games.
It's worth looking into, though.
Yeah, I should probably Google more. It's not like I could get a Series X if I wanted to right now.
Bro says, like, maybe you've talked about getting essentially a gaming PC, right? Like getting a new PC. That's
yes, I have thought about that a lot. Yes,
and also maybe that's the way to go.
Yeah, I just do that, and then I just get Game Pass through.
Now the Game Pass, I believe, for PC and Xbox are like they have different games. Like,
oh really?
There's a lot of the games that are on both. I think the majority are, but there are some that are just on PC and some that are just on console.
Maui Bro Kaoi on YouTube says, "Dude, what's up? Big fan of yours, all the way from Hawaii."
Ooh.
Look at what time is it in Hawaii right now? He also said, "Congrats on the engagement." Thank you, Maui Bro.
All I know is better there.
What time is it in
Time is better. The
Hawaii?
weather is better. You know what? It's not in Hawaii.
We're on in the afternoons in Hawaii. What's up?
You know it's not in Hawaii. It's not single digits in Hawaii.
No kidding.
So cold here, man.
It's 4:48 p.m. in Hawaii. Drive time, baby.
Prime time somewhere.
That's pretty
it's
funny.
A Jimmy Buffett song. It's prime time somewhere.
That is. Wow, I like that a lot. Yep. Almost entirely sports because it's prime time somewhere. Feels like that one could make the T-shirt. We got shot clock reviews in about 10 minutes. Well, would we have time to do Sad Fans next segment if we took a break right now? It's only like 4 minutes. Don't have that much time. The last hour of today's show is going to include Sad Fans on Reddit and shot clock reviews, and maybe we'll talk about the Madden cast a little bit whenever we come back, and baseball's answer to it potentially. What a radio tease. Next.
Take the show with you wherever you go. Listen live on the Sports Radio 810 mobile app. is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
You know what the bend don't break kind of reminds me of?
Sure.
It's like procrastinating on a paper.
Yeah, I feel that.
It's like, yeah, it may work some of the times, but then there's that one time that you're doing the paper and it's like, oh, it's 4 a.m, and then all of a sudden Dak Prescott runs in for a touchdown.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
I'm really having a crisis. Because the whole beefy PC thing really feels like would be the best path for me as a human being to go, because I could play more games there and also use it for everything else. I'd like to, be able to stream a little more. I tried streaming a few times a while back. My laptop couldn't really handle it. I'd like to do all of that, but I know that doing it really well would be so expensive. And I hate the idea. I think this is why I haven't really given the Series S any thought. I hate the idea of spending still a lot of money to not get all of what I want from it. And so I'd be like, well, if I'm in for a penny, in for a pound. But in a PC build, it's more than a pound. If anybody with PC building expertise wants to reach out, this is one of those rare situations where I do say my DMs are open, because I don't know.
Sure, use some help.
I don't know what to do. Yeah, if someone would like to give me a free top of the line PC, I'll take it. You want me to? I'm currently watching the Matt Damon Crypto.com commercial that just makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up in a bad way every time. It's just weird, man. I don't know. I hate it. I hate the idea of buy crypto. It's like going to Mars. But if I can be, the Matt Damon for your gaming PC company, I'll make you a cringy ad. I'll do anything for it as long as it's cringy. Because not that that's a condition that I want to hit, but because I can't help myself.
That's your brand.
It's just my brand. I mentioned this with Robert real quick, and I wanted to circle back on it. The idea that Alex Rodriguez might get a Manning cast style broadcast with ESPN. The Manning cast works a lot of times. There's also plenty of things that it doesn't end up doing that well. But what I was tweeting this out right after they talked to Bill Cowher, and they tried to make this happen for Roger Goodell. It didn't really work. Aaron Rodgers' vibe was weird, and Snoop Dogg was just really genuinely excited to be there, which was fun. But Bill Cowher went from being like a starch-suited halftime football guy, just a halftime hard ass in the CBS booth, and the Manning cast just became like your cool football grandpa that definitely knows more about football than you do, but isn't a D-bag about it. The things I disagreed with him on in that segment, but I was like, you know what? I kind of like hearing from Bill Cowher like this. There's not much space in basketball or football to disregard the action and just kind of do a podcast, but that's what the Manning cast has ultimately turned into. Baseball needs that. Baseball is made for that. If you're doing a Manning cast second screen experience for baseball, you don't have to go, that's low and away. You can just keep telling your stories and keep talking to your guests and everything. So the Manning cast is not doing what they do as well as maybe hundreds of people are currently doing online. But the more that style of broadcasting gets into the sports, I think that the more they do that, the better.
You are listening to Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Hi, I'm Steve Hedgepath with Quad Power Products. We know that time is money, and we pride ourselves in getting our customers back up and running quickly. At Quad Power Products, we can duplicate your hydraulic hose assemblies while you wait, in most cases getting you back out the door in 15 minutes or less. We have an excellent inventory of hydraulic hoses, quick couplers, and adapters, and we pair it with the best customer service. Come see us today, Quad Power Products on Hickman Mills Drive, just south of the Triangle in South Kansas City.
Here's a terrific way to start the new year right. Get fit, stay fit, and save big. It's all at the J, the Jewish Community Center, with the area's best full-service fitness center, indoor and outdoor pools, and so much more. I love it, my family loves it, and you will too, especially now when you can enjoy 2 months free. And you can win a $500 grocery gift card and more if you come to one of 2 open houses on Saturday, January 15th and Tuesday, January 25th. Visit thejkc.org/open house for more information.
The College Football National Championship, presented by AT&T.
Made
for this. 60 minutes of hell was made for this. And that's the way we like it.
Kirby Smart and third-ranked Georgia face number 1 Alabama, who's looking to repeat as national champions.
It's not really about what you want. It's about what you're willing to do to get it.
First 3 quarters, 16 allowed in the fourth.
Look, he's an NFL coach trying to do the college thing. It's a lot to win a national title, and I think for him, it's an easier path in the National Football League.
More Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max Thursday morning on ESPN Radio.
This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
Who would you rather have as president, a baby or a puppy?
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Couple things from the Twitch chat here, then we'll get the shot clock reviews. Bro Frat says if it's long term, it's cheaper than a console. And again, I would use it all the time. I understand that. Claude says they've DM'd me already on the PC building. Excellent. Bro Frat says, listen to Claude. I am literally flying around on a dinosaur and watching the stream at the same time. Ice Pirate says they built a few PCs before they'll reach out after work tonight. I'll take any input from anyone here. But so this is the question that Caden just asked on the Twitch. How much would it be to build one that can run next-gen games? And I am seriously thinking, like, what would it take to get a PC that could run all of the next-gen games and stream just about anything that I would want it to? Because I've been thinking about the PC since before I was thinking about maybe also getting, or just looking at video game consoles. But I'm terrified of what that price tag is going to be.
And obviously, if you're going to do it, you should do it right?
Right.
Like you should spend the extra now if you're going to do it, but it can be a lot.
It's just going to, that's the thing, is that number's going to be a lot. I'm just afraid of what those numbers are going to be. One thing I am not afraid of is this segment, because I love this segment, even though we haven't done it in months. We haven't done a shot clock review since, you know what? I think the last one would have been Beards' last day on the show. Beards'
he was definitely
last,
on this show.
He definitely was, and I don't think that you and I have done a duos one yet, Rudy. I know we haven't done them in months.
I've never done it from this side of the glass show.
So I think if Beards' last show is probably our last shot clock review. The good news is I have a lot of things.
I thought I had more, but I'm either forgetting things or I just watched a lot of Spider-Man movies and that made it seem like a lot of things.
The bad news for me is that most of mine are diabetic related. That's not bad news, I guess, at this point. It's just kind of niche. So I do have some more. I will go first, and I'm going to start with something diabetic adjacent. I like to talk about Costco brand Kirkland Diet Green Tea. Apparently, the green tea, they used to make regular and diet ones at Costco, but according to fiance Renee, the regular ones were not nearly as successful as the diet. They're totally sugar-free and carb-free, and they're just nice citrus green tea, and I love them very much. It's been a nice little reprieve from both sodas and all the other things currently floating around in various sugary drinks that will put me on my ass. 8 out of 10. Maybe room for improvement. But a gosh darn good green tea. Rudy, I get to pick, right?
Sure.
Ooh, tell me about having AirPod Pros.
Yeah, so I finally decided sometime around Black Friday or whatever, they were very cheap. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna finally upgrade. I want to, and they are significantly better than my AirPods second generations. Like they're comfier. They look better. And they function better. They're just overall a much better product. I like the AirPod Gen 2s. The AirPod Pro is significantly better. I would say they're pretty easy, like an 8.5 out of 10.
I would like to tell you, the AirPod Pros are great.
They're fantastic.
I would like to tell you about a very specific piece of diabetes-based technology.
My one complaint with the AirPod Pros is I missed the double tap. Like I wish that on the AirPod second gen I could double tap to pause.
Yes,
I
now
cannot do that.
You can squeeze the stem.
But when I look in the settings, it doesn't have play pause as the option as a setting for that.
I don't know why that would be, but I do know for sure that if you've got if you just have one end, you can just do it with one. But you've got the little stem, and then there's a flat part on the headphone right there.
That turns it from transparency.
If you hold it, it does. If you hold it, which I just did, it switches modes. If you just tap it,
boop, maybe I just haven't done that.
It just started playing.
Oh,
some Panic at the Disco on my headphones, and now I'm gonna stop it. Here we go.
Maybe it's not as.
Just a.
Okay, maybe I'm sure it can do that. And I just didn't realize. Okay,
up it to a 9.
9 out of 10.
I know that was something recently that.
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
That changes that makes it significantly better.
It's nice whenever your one complaint can be erased by just making it. That's the
very
power
simple.
of talking to other
I guess
people.
I would just assume like I went into settings and like it has the options for like what you want it to do, and the play pause wasn't, it was just the transparent. Yeah. So I was like, because like on the AirPods second generations, that's how it was. And so I was like, I guess it just doesn't have this function.
A quick double click, we'll skip it. Skip a song. I think triple click will go back, just like the tapping would have been. Test that out for me at some point. Let me know. Make sure that I'm not the weird one that maybe hacked my AirPods.
Let's have to try it out.
Here, this is my most specifically diabetic piece of technology, but I wanted to explain what it was to some people. Also, it is, well, you'll get my rating in a second. It's called the Dexcom G6, and there's different versions of this. There's other brands and everything, but they are CGMs. They are continuous glucose monitors. Now, if you want to check your blood sugar, you could prick your finger, bleed on a little strip into a monitor, and it'll tell you what your blood sugar is. You can do that as often as you want, but you go through strips. Those are expensive. The CGM is just plugged into you at all times. I've got a little device, a little filament in it, and every 5 minutes, give me the rebound. I'm using it early, man. I don't care. Every 5 minutes, it sends your blood sugar to your phone. Right now, my blood sugar is 108, which is good. Then also, with the help of an app called SugarMate, I'm going to go ahead and lump them in also, you can see it on your watch at all times. I can check my blood sugar as easy as I can check the time on my phone right now or on my watch, which is an unbelievable technological development that has made diabetes both a little bit less miserable, and also, I've got advanced analytics and stats and stuff now, which is low-key kind of cool. That whole cycle of technology is an unequivocal 10 out of 10, because, wow, it would be worse without all of that. Rudy, why don't you tell me about whatever's next on your list that you like?
Might want to turn on my mic. Yeah, so next on my list is I got the remake, Pokemon Brilliant Diamond. I have finished beating like the main story of the game, and I never played the original story of the game, so I very much enjoyed it. There are a lot of like buggy, annoying things about it, and from everything I've heard, Platinum's a much better game. I've enjoyed it though because simply this is my first time experiencing this region, this story. I would say it's a solid like 7 out of 10. Plenty of improvements. It could have had some very frustrating like, why didn't you do this? But it's a Pokemon game and it's enjoyable.
And also for those negatives, it's a Pokemon game.
Pokemon game.
Kind of used to it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you about a different game. Battleship on the Nintendo Switch. You may say, Josh, why? I would tell you, I love Settlers of Catan on the Switch. I will probably shortly buy the Game of Life on Switch. I've always loved board games, including digital forms of board games. Battleship on Switch has a mobile companion app where you can play someone else in the same system. It doesn't work at all. That's a bunch of dookie. But there is a different mode in the Battleship video game. You can play with different special abilities, and I've enjoyed doing that against the AI. It's a 6 out of 10. It's not great, but it scratched the itch. Rudy, next.
Next for me, so this was the present my mom got me. I got an Apple Watch. So I got this Apple Watch Series 7, and it has been a while since I've had any sort of like watch or just any sort of. I had a Fitbit at one time. That was years ago. It's really cool. I like it. It is comfortable. I like that it syncs up with my phone and everything. I like that I can control my podcast from my phone. It makes using Siri so much better too. I find myself doing a lot of things that I normally did not do prior to the watch. It is a very good 9 out of 10.
Yeah. Tell you what, if you want to really appreciate it, just get diabetes. It really adds to the experience.
I bet. I still need to customize it. Like, I have not customized it at all yet.
Yeah, go into the settings and ask it to make you diabetic, and you're going to love it. No, they're lots of fun.
You should turn that off.
Yeah, it's one of those settings where you can turn it on, but turning it off, you have to put in a password and a face ID. It's just too much work. I'll talk about something not diabetic related. I want to talk about the Salvador Dali Museum in St. Petersburg, Florida. Fiance Renee, then girlfriend Anna, went to Florida to see my family over Thanksgiving, and shortly, just not very far outside of where my parents live in St. Pete, is the second largest Salvador Dali museum in the world. How it got there, I was not going to fit into a shot clock review, but a couple of the pieces that are there are some like full, like 2-story high pieces of art that are unbelievable, including one called the Hallucinogenic Toreador, which is, I think, honestly, the most I've ever gotten a piece of art. I have a t-shirt with it on it that I've worn here before. It was a great experience, a wonderful museum. You should go if you're ever in the St. Pete area, and also appreciate Salvador Dali. That's a shot clock violation, but an 8.5 out of 10. Had a whole other thing about a security guard that ran out of time. That's the bit. We're both out of practice. Rudy, tell me about the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies, which you rewatched in preparation for the latest Spider-Man movie.
Yes, I did. They are, especially 1 and 2, are where everything that I remembered them being. They are good movies. 3, I cannot say is a good movie, but I enjoyed the heck out of it because it is a bit cringy.
Yeah.
And I liked it. It is very funny to think about Tobey Maguire and just like that whole Spider-Man movie. The movies as a whole, I would say, are an 8 out of 10. Spider-Man 2 is a 10 out of 10. That is truly one of the best superhero movies like ever.
I want to talk about movies, and I'm going to talk about 10 of them. Girlfriend Renee at the time and I watched the entire Wes Anderson collection leading up to his latest movie called The French Dispatch. That experience of watching an entire director's catalog was a fabulous one. Here's a couple of quick things. Royal Tenenbaums is a great place to enter if you want to get into Wes Anderson. The Darjeeling Limited is probably the most underrated, but Fantastic Mr. Fox is the only one that I have a tattoo of. The Grand Budapest Hotel, also a good entry point, but you'll appreciate them all better if you go from the end to the beginning. French Dispatch, also a great latest addition. 9 out of 10. I deducted 1 point because almost every Wes Anderson movie has a problematic love story. Still only good enough to get 1 point removed. Rudy, why don't you tell me about your experience with the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies?
Yeah, so this is my first time watching any of the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies. I never saw them. Did not know anything about them. I don't know if I can spoil the Andrew Garfield movies. They've been out for a while. But what they did with Emma Stone, just completely shocked me. And also, it's great.
Yeah.
It plays out really well.
Yep.
They are, so I don't know if they are good movies, but Andrew Garfield might actually be the most realistic Spider-Man Peter Parker. He is fantastic. Andrew Garfield's a 10 out of 10 as Spider-Man. The movies themselves are probably a 6 to a 7 out of 10.
They have the best song in any Spider-Man movie also. The Neighborhood did a song called Honest at the end for the credits.
In all
Amazing Spider-Man 2.
In all seriousness, you start talking about if any of us were in high school and became Spider-Man, we would act like Andrew Garfield acted. He is the best Spider-Man. He's the best Peter Parker, I would say, probably. The most realistic Peter Parker, at the very least.
I did not love either of the main villains in those two movies, and I still remember those movies incredibly fondly, particularly the second one, just because of the Andrew Garfield, Emma Stone, Peter Parker, Gwen Stacy.
Yeah, and that's why the movies probably aren't great, because if you don't have a good villain, it's hard to be a great superhero movie. But again, just Andrew Garfield himself is fantastic.
I just remembered something about the end of the latest Tom Holland one because I was going to make a reference to a totally unrelated character that is not even a spoiler anywhere near any of this. But then I remembered something else that I had been meaning to ask you about, but that is purely a Spider-Man 3, latest Tom Holland Spider-Man spoiler. No Way Home?
No Way Home, yeah.
There's a real quick, time out of Shot Clock Reviews.
Okay.
So there's the post-credit scene after the new Spider-Man one, okay?
No Way Home.
And No Way Home,
Yes.
the most recent one.
Yes.
And there is an actor that I know you know.
Yes.
Very for sure. Did you know who the second actor was?
I wanted to send you a message.
Okay.
But I was but again, it was I did not, because I saw No Way Home before you.
Yes.
And I just did not want to say anything.
I also was nervous because I knew you were going to see it, but I couldn't remember exactly when.
I've got a theory about it that I will tell you.
Me too.
Off, but I think we're going to see more of them. Maybe not, but I have a theory that we see more of said actor. He's not as big of enough name where you're like,
I don't want to say anything else to the radio audience. I don't want to say anything else to anyone else who might be listening right now.
All I'm saying is he's a.
I was excited.
More than likely, everybody knows who he is, but he's not it's not Leonardo
It's not
DiCaprio.
Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah.
Right.
But he's a big enough actor that I think there's a good chance we're going to see more of him.
I do too. I think it's perfect. Oh, I'm hopeful. Sorry that was so vague. If you've seen the latest Tom Holland Spider-Man, you knew exactly what that whole conversation was. And if you didn't see it, you don't know at all what we're talking about.
Yeah, no
which
clue.
I feel like is a perfect spoiler-free conversation.
Yes.
We'll hear what Rudy thinks about the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies in a minute. But first, I'd like to talk to you about pork rinds. I've never been a fan of pork rinds. I've never even really been an enormous pork eater. The barbecue side of thing in Kansas City is obviously, helpful in that regard. But it's not like my favorite meat or anything. It's certainly never been a pork rinds person. I don't even mention this yet, but I got diabetes. And you know what pork rinds don't have? Carbs.
Diabetes.
Or diabetes. So a decent number of flavors have either been trying too hard or just straight up not good, but the hot and spicy ones are always clutch. And to get a crunchy snack with no carbs, they're not a health food, but it scratches the itch sometimes. I'm glad you exist, pork rinds. 7 out of 10. Rudy, you want to tell me about pork rinds? Nope, sorry. The first 2 Spider-Man Tom Holland movies.
Yeah, I figured I'd pull.
You rewatched them, absolutely.
Yeah, because I also decided hey, I'll rewatch these. They're really good movies. Like I'd seen Homecoming I think twice before this, but I've only seen Far From Home once. Jake Gyllenhaal is great in Far From Home.
Yeah, it was good.
I like Jake Gyllenhaal. That's a good character.
Yeah.
I don't think he's dead. Here's a rule for the Marvel Universe. If you don't see the man die, he is probably not dead. You don't really see him die. They just imply that he dies. So I don't think he's dead.
I actually was going to review those and then pulled them because I have way more on this list right now. I had not seen those two. I enjoyed them both.
Those are like a 9 out of 10.
Oh yeah, good.
Tom Holland ones, yeah.
I'm actually not. I'm actually going to take those off of my list because I basically just gave
I
them
think
to
the
you.
Tom Holland trio, and honestly, not even including No Way Home, because No Way Home is kind of a cheat code in a way because it's a nostalgia trip, right? Like
it's also the third installment, and by that point, like you have so much you can build off of.
Yeah, like it literally has a villain from
what?
every. Well, no, that's
in the trailer.
That's in the trailer.
Okay.
All of that's in the trailer. Yeah. All the villains are in the trailer. There is a villain from that was their big thing. There's a villain from every Spider-Man movie leading, from the Tobey Maguire and the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies. It is about nostalgia, so it's kind of a cheat code. But the first 2 Spider-Mans the Tom Holland Spider-Mans are they're fantastic.
Caden gets the show on Twitch, says he wants to hear our theory. I don't know if we need to do this tonight or maybe we do this tomorrow, but I would be more than happy to do a little podcast exclusive of just us talking about, and it doesn't have to be a 45-minute conversation by any means, but I want to have a 5 to 10 minute long conversation about the most recent Spider-Man, No Way Home, and this scene, because I think our theories might be in a similar place.
Most likely, I would assume they are.
We might figure that out. There might be something we need to do there. I'm not sure. Here's my next one. It's been out for a little bit, but we haven't done one of these in a little bit. Animal Crossing New Horizons 2.0, which I'm also including the Happy Home Academy add-on there. That part actually I thought was going to have more to it than it ultimately did, because so many of the things in 2.0 that were totally free to download were like game additional factors. Harv's Island gets a total overhaul and some really great additions. Some good gameplay, some good stuff generally speaking. I really enjoyed it. I've kind of faded back out a little bit, but it gave you a reason to dig back in. Also, you can buy cars now. You can't drive them anywhere, but there's expensive new stuff to buy. I enjoyed it. It's more Animal Crossing. 8 out of 10. Rudy, go ahead and give me your presumably spoiler-free review of Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yeah, it's going to be hard because I don't want to give away literally anything about the movie than other what you saw in trailers, basically, because that's public knowledge, public domain. It exceeded all my expectations. Whatever I thought the movie was going to be, like it nailed it. Again, it is an event like In-Game was. Is what I'll say.
Yeah.
It is a in-game type event.
Yeah.
I think the movie's fantastic. I said it was my favorite Marvel movie, or best Marvel movie of all time. After watching some, I probably come down a bit. I'll do my rebound.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And I will say, I think In-Game is still a better movie. I think Civil War is probably still a better movie. It is, though, it is on my Mount Rushmore of Marvel movies. And,
wow.
it is up there with In-Game again in terms of the event that it was. So there was a lot of hype. There was a lot of expectations. In my opinion, they nailed it.
Yeah.
10 out of 10.
Wow.
A lot of fan service, which I will say is like can make a movie bad.
Super tightrope walkie.
They nailed it, though.
I agree.
I think they nailed it.
I agree. Totally. Yeah, I think that's a good
So
review.
good. It was good. Again, I do not want to say anything about any plot, like anything.
I think you can just say
Literally
it was hyped
nothing.
and it lived up to it. I think that's a good.
But and I have so many questions about what's next for Spider-Man just in general and Tom Holland. Like I really, you could tell me anything, and I could see I could see how that happens, right? Like because I really just don't know. I'm confused. And it's the first time I've been confused about Marvel and what their plan is for a long time.
Yeah, also absolutely true. Confused
And
like in
that's
an
fun.
exciting way.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll talk about another video game here real quick. How about Yoshi's Crafted World?
I saw this. I got a little excited.
Okay, have you played it?
I have.
Okay, so that you played it with your niece, right?
Yep.
So I've been playing it with Renee as sort of this idea of a video game that is made for one person who's played video games before and one child. And Renee's not a child, but she's not played a lot of video games, including like platformers or even like the lightest egg shooting elements. This is very early on. I made a note to review it again later when we've played more, but we've probably got an hour, maybe an hour and a half in, and we're still in a relationship.
It's a delightful game.
I think it's delightful. It's got little dogs, which is big for Renee. I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10 with real fluctuation either way, because it's still very early in that, but it is the strongest attempt that Renee and I have made to play a video game together.
It's a very fun, enjoyable, like me and my niece had a great time playing it together. And it's also in the sense that like, if the person you're playing with is bad at video games, you can just basically take over, right?
Yeah,
like,
you can carry them.
And they do not necessarily feel like they're being carried. Like,
because
they feel like they're contributing.
They can still throw eggs
Yeah.
from the back of your Yoshi. There's little costumes that also work as armor. It's very clever.
Mm-hmm.
It's clever. It's charming. Again, Renee and I tried to play Borderlands 2 at one point on the Switch.
Didn't work.
And it just wasn't going to work. This I feel a lot more optimistic about. You know what? Why don't you go ahead and kick it back? I just bricked that one, but why don't you go ahead and kick it back out to me? So I'll do another one here before we wrap up. How about another animal-based video game? I think you actually sent something about this in the group chat, Rudy, and I don't remember why I ran into it again.
Okay, real fast. I'm basically stealing your shot clock.
That's fine.
I'm gonna give it back. I'm gonna give it back to you. You're
We're
gonna
get
get a
it
full
off the rim.
24.
Okay, great.
Beards made a joke about, I forget how we got there. It's like, yeah, well, it's like if they gave the Animal Crossing characters guns. Like,
Yes.
Beards, that game already exists.
Yes.
I sent a screenshot of this game. I'm now just stalling 2 seconds per time so I can replay it. And Josh, now you go.
Kick it out. Dribble the top of the key. It's called Super Animal Royale. And it's basically a top-down kind of 2D Fortnite, battle royale setup. You got different places you can drop out of a battle bird or whatever it's called. And honestly, I had a similar experience with a game called Archvale, I think it is, where there are game styles that I actually enjoy more than I thought I would, but I just needed an aesthetic to invite me there. And Super Animal Royale, with like 2 hours of gameplay last night, it's got me intrigued. 7 out of 10. I'm enjoying it so far.
It seems like a game I'll probably never play because the Royale games are just part of it.
It is free. It is free to play.
Every time I played a Royale game, like I have enjoyed my time. Like I played a little bit of Fortnite, I played a little bit of Apex. I've generally always enjoyed my time. I just know that's like I stopped playing Pokemon Unite because that is just a time commitment.
Yes.
I like Unite, even though they were trying to they got some crazy charges in that game. Like they finally I like to play with Alolan Ninetales. There's only one Alolan Ninetales skin. You know how much money it costs, Josh? I'd pay $10 for that skin, which is absurd anyways. It's $45.
What?
$45.
What?
For a skin.
What?
Yeah. And here's the thing. They keep adding $45 skins because people are buying them. And I was like, I can't do that.
No.
I tried to talk myself into it once, and it was just like, I couldn't do it. And I can talk myself into spending money on dumb things very easily. And even I couldn't do it. But also, I had to stop playing the game because it's like, it's just the time commitment of a game that essentially never actually ends. It's like, I just can't do it.
That's insane. Yeah, I'm not a huge Battle Royale fan necessarily, but the aesthetic was inviting enough that I also
fun.
Got decent at it very quickly. I didn't feel like an absolute chump.
It seems entertaining for sure.
It's fun. Sorry, I've got too many tabs here. I'm out of practice on the shot clock reviews, man.
Yeah,
this one feels disjointed. Oh, tell me about My Hero Academia.
Yeah, so I during my time off, I watch anime, and this is a very popular anime that I just never watched. For whatever reason, just never watched it. Finally decided, I'm going to dive into this. I'm just mad I didn't dive into it sooner. It fits everything for me. One, I like anime, but it is an anime about superheroes, right? Like it is a world where everybody pretty much has superpowers, with the exception of like 80% of the world's superpowers, 20% don't. It's a superhero TV show. It's great. I mean, it everybody says it like all the reviews are for it are great. It lives up to it. It's one of my favorite anime I've ever watched. It's a 10 out of 10 for me.
Wow.
If you like anime, odds are you've seen My Hero Academia. I'm one of the few who likes anime and who hasn't seen it yet. It's fantastic.
So if I have my stats right here so far today, Spider-Man No Way Home, My Hero Academia, and the unparalleled piece of medical equipment embedded into my arm that helps continue to keep me alive on a regular basis, all 10 out of 10s.
Yep. Feels right.
Just want to make sure I had all those. Just want to make sure I had all those right.
Feels right.
I wasn't even going to give insulin a 10 out of 10 because it's too expensive.
I mean, My Hero Academia, I paid like $7 for a Funimation membership, so it's pretty cheap.
I'd like to talk about what I'm calling New Old Mario Party. So it is the newest Mario Party game on the Nintendo Switch. There's one that came out a couple of years ago that you can only play with Joy-Cons. And it feels kind of gimmicky. It feels more like Mario Party Wii or something. The new one is actually a bunch of older maps and older mini games from the GameCube and NES and other eras of that time. That one has been fun. Right out of the gate, not very many maps, but it does feel like playing the GameCube version, which was my favorite. I'm going to give it a Mario Party 7 out of 10. Because Mario Party 7 was my favorite. Rudy, last one from you. Tell me about cabinet organizers.
Yeah, so during my break, I actually bought like cabinet organizers, and
I love this.
There's just something about when because I organize my whole room, and there's something about just not having a cabinet that's full of clutter. It is nice. Like I didn't get anything fancy. Mine are just plastic. They're different sizes, so I can put different things in them, and then everything just looks nice, clean, and organized. Like there's not a lot to say to it other than just like it's nice. The concept of organizing your cabinets, 10 out of 10. The ones I bought are probably just like a 6.5 out of 10. So I spent like $15. Super basic, super cheap. Just little black plastic pieces you put in your cabinet. There are better ones out there, I'm sure.
But they
get the job done.
Yes, huge.
And it makes me feel so much better.
Yes. It's nice whenever...
I even bought like little tiny black rubber bands like put around cords and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
To then put in one of my cabinet organizers.
Oh, excellent.
So good.
What was the total rating again?
Oh, the concept's a 10 out of 10.
Right.
The ones I got are probably like a 7 out of 10. They're a solid.
So is that a 8.5?
Yeah.
Total?
Yeah, that feels right.
It's nice. I really
but organize
appreciate
your cabinets.
I really appreciate when
or any drawer you have.
Just organize your life.
It's just better.
I appreciate it whenever I have to think unhealthy OCD tendencies do come out in some sort of healthy format. It makes me feel like it's doing something for us.
I did all this while watching the Tobey Maguire Spider-Mans because I watched them through Hulu Live TV.
Yeah.
And so it had commercials.
Commercial breaks.
And so every commercial break, I just move on. I just work. I would organize. And I was like, you know what? This actually works out well. The commercial breaks were like 5 minutes long, which is pretty long. So I could get a decent amount of stuff done. And then I would just go back to watching. It was perfect. It was a nice little back and forth for me.
It feels like a good Rudy night.
It was a nice that was during the first vacation. Before I came back and worked like 3 days and then took another vacation.
And your mom still thinks you just need anti-anxiety, better sleep medication.
Apparently.
That's a bad sign.
Okay, I need to organize my bathroom now next. That's the next plan.
You should. You'll love it.
Yeah.
It's
pretty organized already. I would say it's like 80% organized, but it could be better.
Could always be better.
Could always be better.
Here's my last one. Spotify Wrapped season. I know it's been a minute. I know they all came out, but man, I really like Spotify Wrapped season. I like finding out what I listen to. I like finding out what you guys listen to, what my friends listen to. I think it's all interesting. My top song of the year was apparently Monster by 21 Savage, which is just there because I love that Childish Gambino verse. He took me through that apparently. 2 and 3, 2 Glass Animals songs, Youth and Season 2, Episode 3. Then a Half Alive song, and then weirdly, I'm going to need another rebound. Sorry, I got a whole other section of this to get to.
You're fine.
And then weirdly, number 5 was a song called Daywalker, which is by Machine Gun Kelly with a guy named Corpse, whose voice sounds like this. And I don't like the song that much, but it's on my Bad Vibes playlist, and apparently my 5th most needed mood this year was Bad Vibes. Here's more important, my top 5 artists from Spotify this season on Spotify Rap. Number 5, Mac Miller. Number 4, 21 Pilots. Number 3, The Neighborhood. Number 2, Tyler, the Creator. And number 1, another huge year for Glass Animals. I think they got up to number 2 last year. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I love Spotify Rap season. Also, I did end up buying tickets to see Glass Animals in St. Louis in March, I think. I was going to see them when they were here in Kansas City, and instead I went to see a bunch of kind doctors and nurses and security guards who kept me from dying on that evening.
So net loss for you.
I'll tell you what, it's less about how much did I lose in that evening and more about what's going to happen on March whatever night they're in St. Louis. That's sort of what I'm more concerned about. All right, those are shot clock reviews. We actually did it in a normal length of time for a segment. It's almost like we cut down 33% of the people participating in it. That seems like that actually makes sense. We'll take a break. Whenever we come back, sad fans on Reddit. Chiefs edition? That's not right.
Want more Almost Entirely Sports? Watch the show live on This is Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco.
All right, well, so we've talked Chiefs for 9 hours this week. What are we going to do for this 10th hour? Porgs, 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 porgs,
Get rid of your
porgs.
pennies! On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Rudy, tell me what you make of this. Ice Pyro says, My Hero Academia is X-Men meets Sky High.
I saw that. I never saw Sky High.
Oh, really?
I feel like I've probably seen like 30 minutes of Sky High. I don't want to say I've never seen it, but I do not know if it's what I think it is. I think it's spot on. The X-Men definitely. It's funny as I've watched it because like they have some like very unique quirks, which is what they call their powers. I'm like, oh, that's really cool. And then pretty much all of them also have like a side effect. Like there's one guy who literally his powers flame, but like his body will overheat if he uses it too much. Makes sense, right? And then some of them are just like one character, his quirk is that he has sticky balls on his head, and then he can remove them and throw them. And if you get stuck to it, you can literally not get unstuck. Except he himself can. They don't stick to him.
Sorry, I think your microphone cut out. What's his quirk? What's his thing again? My headphones must have.
He has these sticky balls on his head that he can remove, and then they like repopulate. It's like it looks like his hair, but they're not hair.
They're not hair.
If he removes too much of them, he starts to like bleed from his eyes. Like 90% of them have these like cool, like, oh, that's cool. And then you have occasionally,
the man with sticky balls on his head.
But like there's one of them who his deal is like electricity, right? And it's funny because he's always complaining because everybody uses them as a phone charger. But it also like if you knew somebody who like shocks them, that's what you would ask him to do, So like it's pretty funny.
You know how sweet it would be if all the new iPhones have the MagSafe. I think the 12 had them also, but I went from X to the 13. You know how sweet it would be if I could just put my hand up to the back of my phone, just have it stick there and just charge up real quick.
And like one of them, basically his sweat is nitroglycerin, so he just can he's basically just a walking grenade.
That one feels less convenient to me.
Yeah, if you can control it, you're strong, you're powerful. Because like another thing in it, one of the most I just finished season 4.
Mm-hmm.
One of the most recent episodes was they have this essentially Billboard top charts, right? Like the heroes are ranked 1 through whatever.
Yes.
And every 6 months they rank them. The goal is to be the number 1 hero, right?
Okay.
So like if you're again if you have the ability to basically always have explosions in your hand, you're strong, possibly become the number 1 hero.
That makes sense. I do think I use electricity more often than nitroglycerin on a day-to-day basis.
For sure, the nitroglycerin dude is very. He is one of the stronger characters.
Makes sense.
Or up and coming characters, in the show. They are all in high school, obviously based off the academia. They're in a hero school, so like they're not heroes yet.
Pick one ability from the show. Which one would you want?
One from the show.
Yeah.
I think.
Give me a sense for it.
I might go with. I mean, the main character Deku has like. He's super strong. Now the problem is every time he like uses powerful force, he just breaks every bone in his body. That
sucks.
Yeah, that's an issue.
Why don't you just be the sticky ball guy?
I don't want to be him.
You have sticky balls in your head.
There's this one dude who basically like quite literally has like jet propulsors like in his leg, so he can run super fast. I feel like that would come in. That might come in handy.
Yeah, that seems good.
Might get a professional. I at least got a college scholarship.
You definitely at least run track, right? Like that doesn't mean you could take a hit from whenever. My references are getting stale, and I just wanted to say Troy Polamalu. I'm going to stick with it because it's where my heart was. I don't know that Troy Polamalu was ever going to catch you over the middle, but if he did, that would still hurt.
For sure.
Speaking of things that'll hurt a little bit, Beards spent most of Sunday, the ghost of Beards, spent most of Sunday going through the Cincinnati Bengals subreddit, preparing for them to be sad on Reddit because they were supposed to lose this game. And then the Chiefs lost. And sad fans on Reddit doesn't discriminate if the Chiefs win or lose. It's fun to laugh at the losers if it's the other team, but sometimes also misery doesn't only love company, it needs it. Maybe this can be a place for you to feel all your feelings. A place for you to hear sad fans on Reddit. Kansas City Chiefs edition.
And now, a list of things that Kansas City Chiefs fans said on Reddit after losing to the Cincinnati referees. The refs. 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 Oh, the refs. The refs. The refs. The refs. Those refs. And now the bronze medal.
What? Okay.
The refs.
Already.
And now the silver medal. The refs. And now the winner of things that Chiefs fans said on Reddit.
The refs.
And now, for real this time,
Okay.
a list of things
That might have been it.
that Kansas City Chiefs fans said on Reddit after losing to the Cincinnati Bengals.
That would have been totally within the
Bengals
Bears'
clipboard
realm of
dude has
possibility.
strong, angry stepdad energy. Bengals cheating with Teflon uniforms. Stop tickling Burrow and actually tackle him, please. Sorensen. I hate him.
Rudy said that.
Yep, tackling is in fact a penalty for the Chiefs today. Let's give a brand new ref crew who has never worked together the most important AFC game of the year.
Yeah, that was bad.
I can't wait to see what Jackass Mahomes posts on TikTok now. They'll make t-shirts that say 3rd and 27.
Oh.
At least we know in a fair game that we'd win against the Bengals. Refs can pound sand. Cincy can suck my nuts while the refs lick my ass.
What do you think those words were?
Nah, you aren't going to
I
get
don't
any
want to know.
flags, Mahomes. The refs don't care about penalties the Bengals engage in. From a Lions fan, that was some ref ball. Spags knew what he was talking about comparing Burrow to Brady. The new king of being by the refs has arrived. Why the f*** are we still putting Sorensen in coverage?
Well,
remember the replacement refs of 2012? Aside from the horrible officiating, I've got an idea. Since Chase has been carving us up, let's not adjust. It'll work itself out, right? Spags, probably. Cincinnati cheese bagels. I'm not disappointed. I'm just mad.
I like
We
a
got
cheese bagel.
Oklahoma stated. Goddamn ref ball. My hole hurts after that f***ing.
What are we
All my homies hate the refs. Browns fan here. It was done to f*** the Browns. It was just collateral damage to the Chiefs, and I'm sorry about that. Kansas City all the way. I'd like to change my MVP vote for the year to the referees. And now, the bronze medal. Comment. Well, we can't beat both teams wearing stripes.
Ooh.
Reply.
Clever.
Mahomes. Wait, the refs are Bengals players? Referee. Unzips black and white stripes to reveal orange and black. Always were. And now, the silver medal. We would be the best team in the league if we just chose to not play Dan Sorensen. Other teams do it. Why can't we? And now, the winner.
That
of
was good.
things that Chiefs fans said on Reddit.
I think I know what this is going to be.
Stat that is never going to be a thing.
Nope, I was wrong.
Beards hates stat that so much.
Stat that.
When do you think it's going to be that we finally get in trouble for sad fans on Reddit being too profane? Because here's the thing: it's eventually it's going to happen.
It's not our fault.
And I'm going to be like, yeah, you're right. Like,
Take it up with the Zone. It's their producer.
the Zone just keeps refusing to play it, and so we're like, yeah, Beards will play it.
I mean, we don't have a choice.
Right, we legally have to.
Yeah. If one of the three main shows tells us to do something, we have to do it.
And the Zone's like, hey guys, we can't have this type of profanity.
They're basically my boss.
Jason Anderson rules my day-to-day life.
Basically.
Corey rules my day-to-day
nightmares.
Nights. Yeah, sure. It's just every once in a while, man. There's just one that gets through, the one that just slips through the cracks, and I just go, man, that
one
graphic.
was a little much.
Graphic, I think, is the word that usually comes to mind for me. It's just graphic. But Rusty Shackelford on YouTube says, "Sad fans, best segment in the history of media ever and forever."
Thank you.
Thank you, Rusty.
We're happy to bring it to you. It takes a lot of work to communicate with ghosts.
That's
Not
true.
easy. Trust me, I watched 15 seasons of Supernatural. I know that there's a lot of bad stuff that comes from that.
Did you really watch?
Heck yes.
Is that all of it?
Yes.
You've seen every episode of Supernatural?
I've seen every episode of Supernatural.
I don't think I knew that. Or
It was
I knew
good.
that. I forgot it.
I really like that show. So I basically when I moved to Kentucky, I had like a month before I actually started class. So
suddenly you
yes,
have told me this before.
This was back in the day. I realized this while watching My Hero because I binged like 4 seasons of My Hero in like a week. I've not done that since like college. Like that is a skill that you have in college that you just lose at some point. A lot of that is just you have to be an adult. Your ability to binge watch stuff. I binge watched like 8 seasons of Supernatural in like 2 weeks.
Poof!
And then I just watched it, not weekly, but as like every month I might binge watch it because it was on Hulu, like 4 episodes, over the course of the next 7 years. I enjoyed that show.
Caden said during Sad Fans, I'm sure Skip Bayless would be great in that universe arguing about literal power rankings. That would be awesome. Like you know how much more fun sports radio would get if the debate was about literal superheroes?
Mm-hmm.
Like superhero talk radio would be its own thing.
It's also got some like clever things into it where one of the villains in like one of the most recent episodes, his name is Gentle Criminal. He posts all this stuff on YouTube because he's a social media villain basically. Just
Perfect.
like that because you would have those people in like today's society actually. It's a good show.
Yeah, we actually do. 2 of them are brothers. One of them is really rich and fighting. The other one is really rich and also fighting. And they're both that guy.
And one of them is now becoming an anti-hero by calling out UFC and like trying to like stick up for UFC fighters.
Yep.
It's a weird.
It's a real.
Paul brothers are weird.
It's a real
weird dynamic they got going.
It's a real heartbreaking worst person you know just made a great point sort of situation.
Yeah. Like I imagine you saw the video of Jake Paul dancing in the rain. That's a vibe we've all had.
I saw the video of him. I saw his response video to Dana White. I don't think I've seen Jake Paul just dancing in the rain.
Before his last fight, he was like getting hyped for it, but he was just dancing in the rain.
Just dancing in the rain.
And like I don't like Jake Paul at all. But it was also like that's a I get the vibe.
It's weird finding your opinion on people like that evolving. Like maybe that makes sense. Maybe that's a smart thing to do. But it's like, okay, finding this video is not going to get found during this segment, so that's okay. It is just sort of wild being like, you know what? I don't really like your whole deal, man.
Yeah, there's a lot of bad, shady stuff in there.
But
did you see the thing with Logan Paul where people are like most mad at him about? Like, I think Logan Paul once went to a suicide forest. Made fun of people.
Seems like the worst thing that he's done to me.
And then just recently, he made a video of him creating his own resin table.
I did see
with
this.
Game Boys in there, and people lost their mind that he is like ruining Game Boy. This is the thing that made people get mad at Logan Paul.
Can I one-up you? That table looked awesome.
It was cool.
It was just a dude being a dude, making a craft, making a resin table with Game Boys in it. Those Game Boys, I don't know that they worked or not. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. There are a lot of Game Boys in this world. He didn't steal them from children.
Nobody was using those Game Boys.
No, he bought them on eBay for whatever they were trying to sell them for. I'm sure he bought them from somewhere.
Yes.
And it looked really cool.
This is not like in the top 100 worst things he's ever done.
No, in fact, it was a top 100 good thing he's done. It was a cool reusing old. Someday, I will not have it in my heart and soul to throw away my beloved GameCube controller whenever my original OG one eventually breaks. I have basically turned my GameCube into decoration. At some point, whenever it actually breaks, maybe I'll gut it out and I'll put flowers in it. Make it a beautiful flower pot. I don't know.
Cool flower pot.
It'd be a cool flower. I just thought of that. It seems like a good idea. But better to remake it into art. That seemed like a great idea. People get mad at really weird
the weirdest things, man.
And then you get videos of O.J. Simpson having a take about Antonio Brown leaving the fields.
Hello, world. It's me, O.J.
Twitter world. Hey,
Hello,
Twitter world. It's me, yours truly. I'd like to talk about.
I would quit during the middle of a football game.
I would just like to talk about a football player doing
when I commit an action,
unacceptable
I
thing.
Commit to it. Did I only kill one of the two? No, I killed them both.
Didn't see me quitting.
Not me. Not me, Twitter world.
Didn't see me quitting at halftime.
let's take a break.
Did you know you can listen to Almost Entirely Sports? You're listening to Almost Entirely Sports.
Sorry for the long pause. I had to sneeze.
With Joshua Brisco.
I'm still allergic to everything in the air. Spring and summer are Satan's seasons.
On Sports Radio 810 WHB.
I got a fun alternate NFL universe stat that I will. It's more than a stat. It's kind of a whole concept that we're not going to have time to get to tonight, but we will talk about some tomorrow and Friday, perhaps. We got 3 shows in a row, baby. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, AES 7 to 10, all 3 nights, 9 hours of this beautiful, beautiful program here for you this week. So we'll get to some of that later. Here's what I'd like to end the show on. You know how Twitter, whenever there's like a trending word or topic, sometimes there'll be a little descriptor paragraph.
Mm-hmm.
Trending under Sesame Street was the word Rocco.
Modern's life.
That is actually like my first thought. Here's the summary. Elmo releases a statement confirming he and fellow Sesame Street character Zoe are still friends after old clips of him being upset by her pet rock Rocco emerge.
I don't believe it.
Now, the reason that really struck me as hard as it did is because it sounds like, disgraced comedian says he doesn't have a racist bone in his body after damning clips from 2012 emerge. But in this case, It was a video where Elmo and Zoe were learning about sharing. There were only 2 cookies left. Zoe had a cookie, and Zoe kept a cookie for her pet rock, Rocco. And Elmo was like, he's a rock. He can't eat. He's a rock.
You know, I just hope Elmo gets the help that he needs.
I'll tell you what, if Elmo can run a 4.2 40, I would sign him to be the next Chief slot receiver in a second. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye, Mom.
You're listening to Almost Entirely Sports with Joshua Brisco on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Saturday on Compass Media Network's coverage of the NFL. The regular season concludes with a primetime showdown in the NFC East